But ladies and gentlemen, we have now been joined by yours truly, Shuaib Abdullah. Welcome, my bro.
Yeah, thanks, bro. Is there any echo?
No,
All
there's
good?
no echo now. So whatever you're doing, keep it there. Don't change
All
anything.
good now? All good, right?
All good. So far,
Okay,
all good.
mashallah. Okay, that's good. Let me share the link to Facebook so that people can join here because it's a... Yes, peace, bro.
Yes, peace, peace, peace. How we doing?
Well, as it's unfortunately it has to happen again, but we try to fix the problem, but this is what it happens sometimes.
We're
Anyways,
here now.
yeah, we are here now, and I think people can stream and see what is going on. Uh, so thank you for the patience, ladies and gentlemen. We are here again, once again, to talk about the part 2 of what we couldn't finish earlier last week. So, like I said, we are just going to have a normal discussion as well, but now today it's the center of discussion will more be focused on me instead of just usually back and forth. But as I said last week, we were just having a discussion. I was having a discussion with Brother Ahmed, and maybe people will find it as a surprise. They don't know why we decided to have such a discussion, because we've seen a lot of people going back and forth at each other and always, getting on the necks of each other. So we decided, okay, why not just handle this more, like matured people, and then have a discussion, because there is no concern or there is no alarm to have animosity against each other when we claim we are following the Quran alone. So why don't we just pick up important topics and then discuss as good people or believers should do? So this is what brought about this. So today we are here to see the part 2 of the word sajada, that is sujud, to see does it actually entails prostration in the Quran or not. So, Brother Ahmed, do you have also something to say before we move on?
No, no, not yet. I think today we should. I think last time I pretty much made my argument. So I think today you should bring forth your suggestion for the audience. So
Okay, no
it's all
problem.
yours.
So about Billahi minash shaitanir rajim, I seek refuge with God against the accursed devil. As the Quran says in chapter 17, verse 84, it tells the messenger, Kul kullun ya'malu ala shakilatihi farabbukum alamu biman huwa ahda sabila. He says each works or each acts according to his manners. Shakilati comes from the word shakala. So shakilati is the manner in which you do your things. So each works according to his manners, and your Lord is aware of who is guided in way, like, so God knows best. But of course, people can actually pinpoint what is wrong and right, and then can, give heads up to each other. So today, basically, we are going to focus on the word sujud, as it entails prostration or not in the Quran. And last time, before we ended, I quoted a chapter 10, verse 94, concerning having a doubt, and we couldn't address that before I stepped down because my time was up, unfortunately. So, Brother Ahmed, before I go on, maybe you could have also opened the verse, then we just see it together, then I move on to what I want to say. So the verse says, فَإِن كُنْتَ فِي شَكٍّ مِمَّا أَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ فَاسْأَلِ الَّذِينَ يَقْرَؤُونَ الْكِتَابَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ. Then he says, لَقَدْ جَاءَكَ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكَ فَلَا تَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْمُمْتَرِينَ. Now, this verse actually has a lot of things to highlight on. And God is telling the prophet, because he's taken to a second person singular, he used the word kunta. For in kunta fi shakin, if you have any doubt, if you are in doubt of anything, if you are in doubt, then he says, mimma anzalna ilayka, of what we have sent down to you. Then he says, fas'alu allazina yaqra'una al-kitaba min qablika. Now, ask those who have read the book before you, which means the book of God, which has been sent, like the Torah, the Injil, the Zabur. Ask them if you are in doubt. Of course, if we put this into concept, the prophet himself, God asked him not to be of the doubters. Now, but what if we, the believers outside, we have a doubt concerning an issue? Can we actually go for further investigation or not? So I'll sort this out, then we move on to the main evidence. So God told him, لَقَدْ جَاءَكَ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكَ. The truth has come from your Lord to you. فَلَا تَكُنَّنَّ مِنَ الْمُمْتَرِينَ. So do not be among the doubters, to erase the doubt. But then God again tells us in chapter 4, verse 82, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ وَلَوْ كَانَ مِنْ عِنْدِ غَيْرِ اللَّهِ لَوَجَدُوا فِيهِ اخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا. So which means, since God is claiming the Quran comes from God, he gives us the right to contemplate his words. So if it is not from him, we will find numerous contradictions. So here we are dealing with a topic whereby there's an issue of doubt, because some people think, oh no, prostration cannot be done physically. Some people think, yes, it can be done physically. So we are dealing with the issue of doubt. So then hereby, since the believers of the previous scriptures are asked to combine their books together, to believe in them, and then believe in the Quran together, if I also want to confirm what the Quran confirms, for instance, when Quran says it's a confirmation of the previous book, chapter 10, verse 37, Quran is a confirmation of what was before it, right? So now, if I want to actually know the Quran is telling the truth, I need to go and check. Any book somebody claims is from God, I need to take it and check. Does the Quran confirms this? Because Quran chapter 5, verse 48 clearly tells us that the Quran is to confirm what was before it and to serve as a dominant book over the previous book. So since the Quran is a dominant book, of course, we have to rely on the Quran, but that doesn't necessarily mean we cannot go to another scripture to see what the Quran confirms. You see, so if we are in doubt, we can see chapter 10, verse 94 is a generalized issue concerning the book on its entirety. So if you are in doubt, maybe in a certain topic, why don't you actually scrutinize the previous books and see, does the Quran confirm any concept there? You see, so for instance, I can give some few examples. Last time Ahmed said, he said the Quran is the Al-Furqan. Yes, it is Al-Furqan, but the previous book also were Al-Furqan. So maybe he hasn't paid attention to that. Quran chapter 3, verse 3 to verse 4. It confirms that they also have Al-Furqan. Even Musa alayhi salam was also Al-Furqan. You see, so if we say Al-Furqan, you should remember that the Quran is a confirmation of what was before it. So if there was Al-Furqan there, Quran has to confirm Al-Furqan also here. This is how it works. So now, for instance, I give you some few examples why I say some things can be confirmed from the scriptures, previous scriptures. Some few examples. For instance, if you go to the book of Psalms, chapter 37, verse 11, it tells us that the righteous shall inherit the earth and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. This is an example in the book of Psalms, right? Now, if you go to come back to the Quran, chapter 21, verse 105, and God repeated by telling us, we have certainly written in the Psalms, that is the Zabura, as Zabur, after the remembrance that the earth will be inherited by my righteous servants. So God said something in the Zabur in the previous book, and he said the righteous will inherit the earth. Now we can see clearly chapter 21, verse 105. God is confirming that statement that he wrote there that the righteous will inherit the earth. So here it eliminates the doubts. We can clearly see that God actually confirms his own word in the previous scripture. So I can give on some examples concerning how even a believer, when believers come to you, how you should tell them, peace be upon you, salamu alaikum. In the book of John, chapter 20, verse 21, similar thing was told to Jesus, that he should say unto the believers who come to him. And we can see similar thing confirmed by the Quran, chapter 6, verse 54, that the prophet was told the same thing, that when believers come to him, he should say, peace be upon you. You see, then we go, if we go to Quran, let's say Quran chapter 22, verse 47, it tells us that a day of our Lord is like 1,000 of our years. And if you go to the book of Psalms, the Zabur, chapter 90, verse 4, it tells you clearly the same thing, that a day at your Lord is like 1,000 of your years. It's confirmed. If you go to the book of James, chapter 2, verse 23, it tells you Abraham was called a friend of God. If you come to the Quran, chapter 4, verse 125, it tells you the same thing, that Abraham was chosen as a friend of God. You see, if you go to the book of Exodus, chapter 21, verse 23 to verse 25, it tells you an eye for an eye, life for life, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. If you come to the Quran, chapter 5, verse 45, it confirms exactly same thing for you. So it's a confirmation, you see. So I can keep going on and on what the Quran confirms from the previous book. For instance, the book of Leviticus, chapter 11, verse 7 to verse 8, or Deuteronomy, chapter 14, verse 8, about swine, not to eat the meat of pig. And it's confirmed in the Quran, chapter 6, verse 145. Similarly, you go to again, chapter 7, verse 6 of Deuteronomy. God chose the children of Israel as his, above all people. And Quran confirms that in chapter 2, verse 47, where it says, O children of Israel, remember my blessing which I have bestowed upon you, and that I favored you over all people. So you can see the confirmations of what God says in the previous scriptures. Now, if we have to delve into the topic now, Brother Ahmed, I want to ask you one thing, to help me with one thing. If I say you should define this act for me in one word, like when someone falls down to show submission or make obeisance, what is that called in Arabic? Can you help me out?
If they physically
Fall
collapse,
down, yes?
I wouldn't see the term fall suggests that it's unintentional. You don't
No, I used the
fall.
word fall down. I didn't say fall. I used the word fall down.
Okay, but you haven't really gone far, have you? Fall and fall down is still the same thing.
They are different.
Do you fall? How do you fall but not fall down?
They are different.
Okay, help me out. How can you fall and not fall down?
Okay, we see. When we take the word fall, descend in free fall under the influence of gravity. But if you put the word fall down, it gives you loose and upright position suddenly.
No,
So if you put it into context, they can mean different things.
no, but in either case, when you are falling, you're falling from a higher plane to a lower plane. Bottom line, you're falling down. You don't fall upwards. You don't fall sideways. You fall down, no matter what.
What if
Falling is
somebody
downwards.
what if somebody falls in the water?
They're still falling down because the water is down. The water is beneath you. It's not above you.
I know, but I only give you a sentence, and I said, listen, I only give you a sentence, and I say if someone falls down. I think we are matured people, so we should know what I meant by saying that. So if somebody falls down from an upright position, standing, and he falls down, right?
Yeah.
To show submission to somebody else.
No, I understand, but I wouldn't use the term falling for something that is intentional. Because if you do something intentional, you don't call it falling. Falling
Okay,
is something
so
that happens.
let me use this word.
Yeah.
If somebody drops down,
Yeah.
he drops down.
Okay.
To show submission.
I can accept that.
So what is the Arabic word for it?
If they drop down physically for the purpose of showing submission, the Arabic word would be sajda, just like it is prostration in English.
But that act I just described is not a verb. It's a noun.
No. When you're doing the act, it's a
During
verb.
the doing, yes, during the doing is a verb, but I wasn't
Yes.
asking you about the doing. I
Okay.
said, if I tell you that someone falls down to show submission, now I've completed the statement. When somebody falls down, drops down
Uh-huh.
to show submission to somebody else, be
Okay.
it God, be it human, be it object, anything. That word particularly as a noun, give me in Arabic. How do we say it?
Okay. The problem is the sentence that you put it in is a verb, not a noun. You literally said they're doing a particular act.
Yes,
That's a verb.
I know, I understand. The word falls down. That's falling. Fall is a verb.
Well, no, doing the act, even simply doing the act of symbolizing submission, doing
Mm-hmm,
that act is a verb.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an action.
Yeah.
But I said, give me one word to define it as a noun, like a noun. That give me that word. That's all I ask for.
What the Arabic version of sajda as a noun?
No, that what I just described. If you get my point, I just
Yeah,
described
in
something.
English, we would say the act would be to prostrate.
Okay,
And if you wanted to put it
so
in a noun, we would say prostration.
exactly. So
Okay.
like that. That's what I meant. So give me in
Okay.
Arabic. What will it be?
I don't know.
Okay, what about the
What
verb?
is it? Sajdain, maybe?
No, it's sujud.
Okay, okay, sujud. All right. Sajda,
Yes.
sujud. Okay.
Yeah, the verb is sajada. That is the verb, sajada.
Okay.
But that is Arabic. You see,
I'm not
what?
sure. I'm not sure it's gonna have any effect on our discussion.
No, it does. There's a reason why I brought you to this. It will have a big impact. So we come to that.
Okay.
So if we both agree that chapter 18, verse 54, God said he has given us the example, every example that is in the Quran. So that is chapter 18, verse 54. He has given us every example.
Okay.
So when we say every example, you and I who believe in the Quran, we know what God means by that. It doesn't mean he's giving us example of mobile phones or
Understood.
no, that's not that. So, which means you and I both agree that every language has its rules, right?
No. Wait, how did we go to every language has its rules?
Yes, every language has a rule. You can't just enter somebody's language and use words the way you want. There's a rule.
No. See, words, you see, languages don't have necessarily something that is entirely particular to themselves. Because the way languages are a tool, and those tools describe a phenomena. This is
I
a
understand.
phenomenon. Hear me out.
As you explained this.
Okay, cool. But the point, the reason I'm mentioning this
Uh-huh.
is because there is nothing particular about a language. All
Why?
language.
No, wait. Why are you saying there's nothing particular? Who said there's nothing particular about language?
I'll tell you. I'll tell you how. Because all languages deal with verbs, adjectives, nouns. What's so special?
So the
That's what
rules
all
are not
languages deal
important.
with. Huh?
Now, if rules are not important, then we wouldn't be dealing with adjective, verbs, or nouns. If you say the rules are not important.
No, I'm not saying the rules are not important. I'm just saying the rules are not particular to any language. The rules are based on its utility. And it's not beyond any other human being to understand how the utility works. I mean, besides that, to be honest with you, I have never made my arguments about a particular language. And the reason for that is because it is really not relevant considering that we are dealing with context and consistency. So as long as I have context and as long as I can be consistent throughout the Quran, I will not be handicapped by a language. I guarantee you that.
No, first of all, I don't want us to stay on the context issue and the subject issue because we've already spoken about that. Let's leave that in the part one. The issue is, I only ask a simple question. You and I agree that every language has a rule. That's all I want to know from you. Or you don't agree that languages have rules?
The rules are based on utility.
I'm asking a simple question. I didn't say explain.
Okay.
I said every
Okay, sure,
language
sure,
has a
sure,
rule.
man. Sure.
Good.
Okay, I get
That's
it.
all. That's all I wanted.
Sure. But can I just say one
Uh-huh.
thing though?
Uh-huh.
These so-called rules have to
Yeah.
be verifiable. They have to be falsifiable.
Of
And
course. Of course.
and the moment these terms are put in a context, that is what
Yeah.
that context allows us to do. It allows us to verify the claim or falsify the claim. Over to you.
Good. Can we find the word context in the Quran?
Well, mawa'idata is used as context. I know that for sure. So, so if we go to 513, I believe, if I remember right. Yes, 513. So 513 word for word says, except if you, oh, where is it? Yeah, they distort the words from their places. That's what it says, word for word. They distort the words from their places. Now, considering that sentence, we can easily understand that the last word, mawa'idha, which has been translated as places, can also be translated as context, because the context makes that clear.
Oh, so now the context has to rely on words.
No, no, no. The context
You
has to
just read
rely on
it,
words.
brother. You just read it.
So, did you say the context has to rely on words?
You just said it right now.
No, I'm asking you. I'm not arguing with you. Are you
I know.
saying that the context has to rely on words?
You said it right now. You just read it from the verse. What does the verse say?
The verse says they distort the words from their places.
Good. So the words they distorted, it means they took it out of these places. So that
Yeah.
means the
In
words,
other words, that's the context.
yeah. So in other words, the words, knowing what the words mean, plays a role in the context.
I mean, obviously, you're not going to know what a context is if you don't know any of the words in the context, are you?
Uh, before we started going to school, whatever language we learned, we have to learn vocabularies first before we go to context and know how it is used. True or false?
I'm not sure I follow you.
When we started our academics,
Yeah.
before you even learn how to use words into context, you need to know what the words means. That's what we were taught in school, vocabulary. True or false?
Okay, that's true, but the words have been translated. So
But in that verse, the
changing
word
it.
context, in that verse, the word context wasn't mentioned.
I know, but it doesn't need to be.
It needs to. It needs to.
No,
Because we are talking about the Quran. Relax. It needs to.
no.
We
Let
can't
me
be
tell you why
talking.
it doesn't, at least.
Good. We can't be talking about something Quran never mentions.
No, but you give me the chance to explain why I say what I say.
Good.
Yeah?
Tell me.
Okay. When you say, look at the sentence we have here. The sentence we have is they distort words from dot, dot, dot. See, I don't even need to say what comes next. The moment you say they distort words from there, literally, there's nothing you can add to that other than context. Considering the sentence, listen, they distort words from there. Words can only be distorted from their context. Where else can words be distorted from?
From the book.
Okay, now let's look at that sentence.
No, what is funny? No, wait. What is funny about what I said?
I'm gonna tell you what's funny about it.
No, so words cannot be taken out from the book.
I'm gonna show you. Let's look at the sentence, how it looks now.
No,
When
Ahmed, what is the word mawadi?
yes,
What is the meaning of the mawadi?
in this context, it has to be context. It has to be.
No, it never means.
You.
Give me one dictionary where it means context.
Shoaib, are you gonna give me a chance to explain my point?
You can explain. Yeah, I give you.
All right, cool. Turn down volume. We're getting horrible feedback. Oh shit. Yeah, my bad. Yo, mic check, mic check.
No, I can hear you clearly. What somebody saying something?
Yeah. Someone said the volume, blah blah blah. Mic check, mic check. All right, all right. I'm getting the good to go sign. All right, check this basically. Yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit of echo, man. So what? Anyways, as I was saying, Shay, the reason it has to be context, the reason the word that comes after, they distort words from there, dot, dot, dot. The reason it has to be context is because, let's say we try the alternative that you provided, book. Now we put that in that sentence. They distort words from their book. Do you see that? When you say they distort words from their book, that now implies that certain words belong in certain books. So now you're talking about many books. Do you see what I mean? It doesn't work. You don't utter the sentence, they distort words from their book. You don't, it's not a proper sentence, because that implies someone is basically just picking words from one book, picking another word from another book, and just basically exchanging them. That's what that implies.
Good. I understand you, but the word context is not mentioned there. That's what I'm trying
But
to.
I'm trying to show you it doesn't need to.
It needs to. We are talking about the words of God. What do you mean it doesn't need to?
Nothing else fits in Shu'aib. The only place where you distort words from their places is context. There is no other place where you can distort words from. Where else do you distort words from?
So when you distort words in a sentence, what does that mean?
If you distort words in a sentence, then you know it's inaudible. There's no, it doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything.
Of course it doesn't. Look, if you distort a sentence, how am I going to get a message across? Because a message needs to have at least a sentence.
Exactly. So which means it has to have a meaning. So I said the word context is not mentioned in that verse. Why are you putting word context there?
Because Shu'aib, listen, I'm going to give you both points. If you distort words from their sentence, then you can no longer put a message across. Because let's say if you distort words from their sentence, then basically the sentence is not structured properly. So you cannot get anything from that. However, if you distort words from their context, then you can now change the purpose or meaning of the context into something else. Do you see
Well,
it?
anyway,
It's
I understand. Ahmed, I understand you. I'm not arguing with what you just said. I'm just saying the verse doesn't mention word context there. That's all I'm saying. Why?
Because we can clearly see it's a must trade.
I understand. Is it not the same what the hadith followers are doing? They tell you that it's not a must for Quran to mention 5 prayers, but then they are doing it.
No, this got nothing to do with Quran.
No,
even.
I'm giving an example. I understand. Yeah. I'm just giving an example. I'm only basing an emphasis that the word you mention context. In Arabic, we say siyak al-kalam, or siyak. That is context in Arabic. That is why I started using the word. We need rules. Every language has rules. You understand? Now, the word mawadi'i comes from the word wudi'a. Wudi'a bilarakat in 3-letter words, right? 3-letter word. Now, wudi'a means a place, to place something, to put something at its position, to place it, right? To fix it at the position, a place. It has been used in Quran several times, right? For instance, chapter 39, verse 69, where God will place the book in front of us on the day of judgment. And also chapter 3, verse 96, where God says the first bait that he put in place for us. That is wudi'a. So mawadi'i is a plural form, right? It's a plural form of the word wudi'a. Now, the meaning of the word plays a major role. Now, whenever you are telling something to somebody, and you change the meaning of even one word, it's a problem. Let's not go to the context yet. When you change one meaning of a word in a sentence, it's a problem. Let's not even talk about the context yet. Meanings of the words, they play major role in understanding a sentence or a verse or anything. So the reason why I said the word context itself, from Quran, Fatiha to An-Nas, it's not mentioned. Context. It's not there. You don't find it in the Quran. The word we are analyzing here says,
it depends on the context.
It depends on which context. So you now, if I want to understand you clearly, Ahmed, what you are trying to do is the games you are planning to play is you put in your own meanings and words there.
Rather than accuse me of things, you can falsify it. See, the claims that I make are all falsifiable. I don't ask anyone to just accept what I say. Listen to what I'm saying to you, babashuaib. And this is how you can easily refute my point. In this verse right here, where it said, they distort words from there, ... Notice, I'm not even putting anything there. ... On what grounds are you telling me context does not follow that sentence?
Because the word context is not there. Why would I put a word which is not there?
Okay, I asked you on what grounds. That's not giving me grounds, right?
No, I'm not assuming. No. Huh? Look, if you do this, every Dick, Tom, and Harry out there can do the same thing.
And tell me what's wrong with that.
Is that the words of God?
What's the words of God? The words of God is used in communication, right?
No, but is that what actually God says in that verse? Does he mention the word context? This is all I am asking you. Does he mention context?
Okay, cool. In this context, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, no problem. No problem.
Listen. The reason I'm saying to you in this context, absolutely, is for two reasons, Shay. Number one, it's based on the context. Number two, the definition that you gave of wadi'ah can easily apply to context. Easily. How would you describe a context if not to say he put it or laid it on a place? What is that? How is that if not a context? Context is something that you put in a particular place. Obviously, dealing with words in this particular discussion. But that definition, that very definition that we've got under wadi'ah, and by the way, mawdu' is used to say topic, is used to say subject, and subject and topic and context are synonymous depending on the context again.
Like I said, let's
context in this verse.
Yeah, let's not go back to the same issue we did before, because the word, like I said, the word subject and context don't mean the same thing, and we can break it down. We can use whatever you want us to use. We can use lexicons, we can use encyclopedias to break it down. Right now, we can end the argument right now. For instance, the word content and context, they are not the same thing.
I never said they are.
But that's what you are saying. That's what you keep saying.
No. I never.
Then what did you just say?
I never said content and context are the same thing. Never.
No. Our last issue. What did you say?
Topic, subject, and context are synonymous. They just apply to different contexts.
I'm talking about last week, not this week.
Okay, what about
last week? I was telling you that I use subject, context, and content, and you are telling me they are all the same thing. And I say, if you say it's similar, I agree. Don't say they are same thing.
In literacy, they're the same thing.
They are not. Let me define it. Relax. Let me define it.
You can't have one without the other.
Wait. Let me tell you right now. Linguistically, let me give you the definition here. Now, context refers to the parts of a discourse that surround a word. Listen carefully. It surrounds a word or passage and can throw light on its meaning.
I.e. content.
Good. That's context.
No, content.
No, I just defined context. Why are you arguing again?
No, context needs content. And if you have
let me define context. And let me define context. Content refers to topics or matter treated in a work, particularly a written work. That is content. I just gave two definitions right now, and they never meant the same thing.
Shu'aib, can you have context without content?
It's not about having this and this. Can
It
you have
is
a
about
husband?
that.
No,
You
wait.
speak
Can I have a?
you speak
Can
of them as though
somebody?
they're separate things.
Can we have a husband without a wife? That's the kind of question you're asking me.
Exactly. That is exactly
Yes,
my
but they are
point.
not the same thing. Are they the same thing? Is husband and wife the same?
Depending on what we're discussing.
They are not the same.
I said, depending on what we're discussing.
They are not the same.
So you're just going to ignore what I said. So it doesn't even depend.
Yes,
So it doesn't
they
even
are
depend.
not the same. Look,
It doesn't
husband
even
and
depend.
wife can never be the same.
So it doesn't even depend.
How does it depend?
I'll give you an example.
I don't need let's put it aside. Let's not waste time. We did it in the first program, right? Let's not go there again. Let's move on to the sajda. What brought us today, please?
Okay.
Let's not go.
Actually,
Amen.
before we move on, I wanted to address 1094.
Yes, 1094. You can address, yes.
Okay, 1094. You mentioned about 1094 speaking about doubt, but however, you sort of made the doubt general, whereas in this verse, the doubt is very specific.
About what?
So if you are in doubt of what we revealed to you, specifically referring to the revelation, just like you have in other verses, saying if you doubt that basically we used to send revelations to men before you, ask the people before you. So it's very specific. So to make it very simple, 1094 is basically saying to confirm that this revelation that you have received was basically expected by asking the people of the scripture, because the people of the scripture expected a revelation to come. So it's very specifically to confirm that in this verse, whereas in the other verse, it's very specifically to confirm that the messengers previously were men. So I see specific things. What do you see?
Well, I don't have a problem with that. It makes what you said makes sense, but I only quoted the verse to make a point. That's all I did.
But I don't think the point stands.
It stands. It stands because I told you if Quran confirms something in the past, we have to go and check. What wrong is there with that?
Where I need a verse that says that.
That what?
What you just said.
Quran confirms stuff in the past.
No, we know Quran confirms stuff in the past, but
yeah. So how if I don't go to check, how can I know?
How can you know?
Yes, if I don't check, how can you know it confirms?
Where specifically it tells you to check?
Where specifically it tells me to check?
Yes. For instance,
Wait. Let's go there. Wait. Let me confirm for you. Now, I just quoted for you chapter 5, verse 45. And God says what? We wrote for them, or we decreed for them. That is life for life, an eye for eye, and nose for nose, ear for ear, tooth for tooth, and wound for wound. We wrote for them. Listening to it, we decreed for them, we wrote for them, we prescribed for them. Now, I want to go and check this verse. Are you telling me it's wrong for me to go and check where God wrote it? And I confirm for you.
I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to talk about what's in the Quran. So does the verse itself tell you to go and check? There's only two particular occasions that I can think of. I may even be wrong in these two, to be honest. I need to confirm that. There's only two particular places where I can think of where it tells you to. I don't even think it says to have a look, but there's two. One you mentioned earlier on about how the inheritors of the earth will be the believers, etc. Something along those lines.
Yeah.
That's one of them. The second one is actually in chapter 145, I believe, when it talks about the Qibla being to Masjid al-Haram, and then it says that the people of the book also know this to be true. So they knew about this particular prophecy to have a qibla to Masjid al-Haram, the people of the book knew that this prophecy was going to happen. So and even that prophecy, you can confirm that in the Bible. So those are the two particular places that I can think of. And even in those two, I don't think it actually says to go and confirm. The only
No.
places where it says to go and confirm, wait, let me finish. The only places where it says to actually go and confirm, and it's only telling the prophet to go and confirm, is this particular verse 1094, and it's telling him to basically confirm that, you know, this is an expected revelation. And in the other verse where it says to confirm that the people of the book used to receive human beings as messengers. Those are the only two places that I can think of where it actually tells the prophet, not you and I, to go and confirm.
Yeah, but Ahmed, I never said Quran said we should go and confirm something. I said Quran confirms itself. It confirms previous. I never said it said go and confirm.
Okay.
Did I say like that?
Between the two.
Yes. So if I say Quran confirms, what is my problem if I want to go and check what it confirms? Is that am I guilty?
I don't have a problem with you checking what it confirms. I don't have a problem with that.
So that's what I did.
No, that's not a problem. But you can't make the argument that the Quran expects you to, and then make an argument based on the previous scriptures. You can't do that.
No, I'm not. Look, all of my evidence is based on the Quran. I'm not basing my guidance on the previous book.
Okay.
Right? But Quran chapter 2 verse 2 to verse 5 tells me I have to believe in the previous thing he sent. That how can I believe in it if I don't see the confirmation that Quran confirms?
Well, easily. If you believe in the Quran and the Quran tells you that previous revelations have been sent, why would you struggle believing in that?
No, that is the believing of a layman. The Quran puts a challenge for you. You have to scrutinize the Quran itself before you raise doubt. You don't just take a book and believe.
Okay, but where has the Quran told you to scrutinize anything about the previous books?
About what previous book? What?
Yeah, where has the Quran told me to scrutinize anything to do with the previous books?
Let me help you here. Now, for instance, if I take you to chapter 6 verse 91, first of all, let's see what the Quran says. Chapter 6 verse 91. That is, if you can open from your side also, maybe you can see it. Yeah. Where God says, who sent down the book that Moses brought, which has light and guidance for the people, and which the people put in papers, and they manifest some of it and they hide most of it. They manifest some of it and then they what? Conceal most of it. Now, God revealed something to Moses. People put it in books, papers, and wrote it down. Now, when they come to us, they will tell us, this is the book of God. This is the word of God. Right? Now, must I do I need to just believe it? Or do I need to scrutinize?
What does the Quran tell you?
Just the Quran telling me this. It's talking to an intelligent person.
That you asked me,
yes.
Does the Quran tell you how to respond to that? Furthermore, did the Quran tell you to even be concerned about the previous revelation?
Yes, I have to be concerned. I'm going again. Chapter 5, verse 15.
Wait, listen to my question. I didn't ask you about what you have to be. You can do what you like. Did the Quran ask you to be concerned about the previous revelation?
Let me go overhead. I will show you the evidences. Then we can draw the conclusions. Whether it does.
Before you do.
Does the Quran tell me? It doesn't tell me the direct command. In the Quran list, in the Quran, we have direct commands and indirect commands.
Okay, let's start with the direct. Does the Quran directly tell you to go and be concerned with the previous revelation?
To be concerned, yes.
In what way?
And I'm going to give you the verse.
No, look, evidence. Okay, go ahead. Tell me. Go ahead.
Chapter 5, verse 15. God says, Ya ahlul kitab, قد جاءكم رسولنا يبين لكم كثيرا مما كنتم تخفون من الكتاب ويعفو عن كثير. O people of the book, our messenger has come to you, clarifying to you or making clear to you most of what you have concealed Mimma kuntum tukhfuna min al-kitab, of the book. Wa yafu an kathir, and overlooking much. So it tells us clearly that the people of the book have a book, and they are concealing most of it and looking over most of it.
Okay.
The people of the book, they have a book whereby they have certain things inside, which this messenger came to clarify to them, to manifest to them, to make it clear to them that they are hiding such things in their book. Right? So if it is not a issue of concern, why will the messenger come to make something clear in their own book to them, to bring it out and say, you have this there, you have this there, you have that there?
To correct their ways.
Yes.
What's that got to do with you and I?
Oh, you forgot chapter 33 verse 21 tells you clearly there is a perfect example in the messenger of God for you to follow.
Yes, speaking of courage, that's in a context of courage.
The word courage is not there.
It doesn't need to be. The context is about courage.
Please stop using the words it doesn't need to be. Don't use the word.
Bro,
look, we are not smarter than God, are we?
Right. Let's just have a two-way conversation. Right.
Yeah.
Do you want me to be illiterate, right? Do you understand what context is?
No, I don't. Tell me.
No, seriously, because fact of the matter is, the context that the verse that you are speaking of is in a context speaking of cowards. So since the context is speaking of cowards, and then the verse is in the middle of that context speaking of cowards, and then it continues speaking of the cowards versus those who have trust in God and trust what the messenger has brought to them. The very fact that it's comparing the two, and then the verse that you are speaking of is in the middle of it, what choice is there? That's how literacy works, Dre. What choice is there?
Read the verse I just gave you, 33:21. Let's see.
Okay. I'm gonna start with the verse before to give you a context. They thought that the parties might come back. In that case, they would wish that they were lost in the desert, asking about your news from afar. Had the parties attacked you while they were with you, they would rarely support you. In other words, cowardice. Bro, there's something going on in the background. Like, move your, I don't know, I can hear myself. The next verse then says, remember the verse before speaking of cowardice. The next verse then says, the messenger of God has set up a good example for those among you who seek God and the last day and constantly think about God. And then the next verse, look, back to fighting and all that stuff. When the true believers saw the parties, they said, this is what God and his messenger have promised us. And God and his messenger are truthful. This only strengthened their faith and augmented their submission. In this context, speaking of a group that are cowards and another group who are basically courageous and they trust the promise that God and his messenger has made. In that context, there is no choice, right? It's a matter of
dude, you twisted the meaning in chapter 33 verse 21. Read it again. You twisted the meaning.
Okay, why don't you read it for us?
Good. In Arabic it says لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Then he says لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُ اللَّهَ وَالْيَوْمَ الْآخِرَ وَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. There has certainly been a what? Uswatu hasanata, a good pattern or a good example in the messenger of God. It didn't say the messenger has set up. You understand? So there has certainly been a good example so it's different from he setting it up for us. But here, liman kana yarjullaha, whoever is hoping to meet God, expecting God, wal yawm al-akhir, and then the last day, wa zakara Allah kathiran, and remembers God frequently. or most of the times. That is the example the messenger has set. So this is the context here of that verse. The verse you are putting on top. That's why I told you, when you are dealing with somebody's language, you need rules. There's something we call fikra, paragraph. You need to know all this. You can't just take a book and say, oh, I'll just read translation. What if the translation is lying to you?
Shaib, are you telling me this verse is not in the in a context?
You are taking it out of context. That's why I'm putting you back to it.
You only gave one verse. Where's the context to the verse?
You can use one verse and you can get the context inside. Quran doesn't, you don't always have to read verses together before you get context always.
Okay.
It doesn't go with every verse in the Quran.
Okay, no problem. Are you saying the verse before 33:21 and the verse after have nothing to do with the verse in question?
Did you see the messenger in that group? Does it mention messenger in verse 20?
Well, yeah.
Was it one person he mentioned or a group?
Yeah, but the group are basically being cowards from the messengers plans and decisions.
It doesn't mention no. Dude, it doesn't mention a singular form of entity in that verse. It mentions groups.
Okay, okay? Does the group have nothing to do with the messenger?
Yes. If it is a group, wait. If it is the group will have all been the example instead of him alone. Why are you confused? No, why are you confused?
Because what you're saying is impossible, Shoaib.
Dude, when you go to chapter 60, verse 40, concerning Abraham and the people with him, what did God tell you concerning their example?
Can we stop flying from one verse to another, to another, to another? Let's deal with one point at a time.
It is an example.
Listen, 1 second. Let's deal with 1 point at a time.
Good.
Fact of the matter is, this verse that we are speaking of right now, bro, like these apps or whatever you've got playing in the background, it's the people are complaining, man. Fix it, bro.
Well, I can hear you without any problem on this side, so I don't know why.
It's important that the people watching hear us perfectly.
So, but how come I don't get any feedback, any issue here?
It's fine. It's fine with me. Hold on 1 second. I can hear a little bit in the background.
Oh, Ahmed, can you put your volume down a bit? Maybe try your volume down a bit. I just put mine down a bit. Now try talking. Let's see.
Volume down YouTube. It's the YouTube you've got playing, man. At least move it back. Or do you know what you do? Volume. You don't need the volume. Just volume down and just listen to the chat.
That is my YouTube. It's not playing. The audio is not playing here.
So what are they on about?
That's my YouTube. It's on mute since we've started.
All right. What are they on about?
So maybe some few people may be making the complaints because we've been like that for a long time. So how did it just change?
All right. Let's continue. All right. Okay. Trey. The thing is this year, when it comes to reading, there is no authority on reading. Nobody has authority on simply reading. We're not arguing about anything, literally, we're not arguing about anything beyond simply reading. Fact of the matter is, in this particular context that we are speaking about, chapter 33, verse 20, we have, they think, the opponents, not they go away. And if it comes to the opponents, they wish that they were in the desert among the Bedouins. They ask about your news. Who's the your news?
It's a plural form. It is a plural form. Check the word in Arabic.
Okay,
it is in plural form.
The messenger.
Whether including the messenger or not, it's a plural form. It's not talking about the messenger.
Brother, we're trying to like highlight facts and you're dismissing it. It's not whether or not. We need to know whether it's factually true or not. So when it says your, does that include the messenger?
Yes, okay. Yeah.
All right, cool. So they ask about your news, and if they were among you, not they would fight, except a little. Certainly, there was for you. Even just beginning with that, certainly there was for you. There's a sentence begin with that. There's a sentence beginning with certainly, unless it's part of a context.
Who are the you?
Can you answer my question, bro? Like, I'm asking you, just dismissing it. Like,
I'll answer your question. What is your? Repeat your question for me.
Huh? Okay.
Repeat your question.
Can you start a sentence that is not part of a context as certainly?
You have to finish the statement first.
No, can you just that word. Can you start a sentence with certainly?
Yes. It does in the Quran several times.
And it's not part of a context?
And I say you have to finish the sentence, then we can see the context.
No, I'm trying. Okay, try it. The term certainly, literally, the term certainly is basically saying for sure. You can't start with for sure unless I know what the hell you're on about.
Yes, then finish the sentence, then we can know what it is about.
No, but look, for sure comes after something, not before something. You don't start a sentence with
in the
sure.
Quran, it starts several times. It starts.
No, it's always part of a context. I don't understand.
Okay,
We're actually discussing reading.
Dude, it's okay. Let's put this is not even part of the topic. Let's put it aside.
I'm gonna let that one go. I'm gonna let that one go. But listen, I'm gonna let that one go. But fact of the matter is, the verse before is speaking about cowards who are basically showing some cowardice when it comes to fighting alongside the messenger. And then the verse after tells us that the messenger is a great example for us, and etc. And then the verse after that goes back to how the believers are basically courageous in that they trust the promises that God and His messenger has made them. So when you considering the verse before the verse in question and the verse after the verse in question, on what ground are you possibly going to argue that it's not in a context? On what grounds?
Dude, it's in the context. I agree with you. Can we move on to the main? Good. Now, let's talk about the sujood itself. When I take you to chapter 38, verse 72 of the Quran, and let's see what that says, then we can see, is there a physical act of prostration or not? Okay. So, last time we based our issue there, and I told you to translate, and you translated by giving me two alternatives. So then, before that, you made a definition by saying that whenever prostration is involved, it has to do with an object in front of you. So the object, remember, the object can even be a human being as an object. So a human being, an animal, whether a house, a building, whatever it is an object. So the word lahu in Arabic signifies that you have to do something in front of somebody. So now, when I ask you to put it in the context for me, we only base on one verse. And when God said, when I proportion him and what breathe into him, you shall do this in front of him. So you gave me two alternatives.
Wait. You added the word in front of.
What?
You added the word in front of.
Yeah, lahu. Before him, in front of, or to him.
Okay. The three are different. Before, in front of, or to him are very different. So lahu,
okay, so let's put it in the context then.
No, but lahu, we know it's to him.
What?
Lahu, throughout the Quran, is to him.
In the Quran, even lahu can be for him.
Okay. To him and for him. Okay. But
yes.
You're not arguing for, though, are you? You're arguing.
No, yes, I'm talking about the meaning. That lahu can mean, it has multiple meanings. But in the context, you choose which one fits the context.
I know, so, but you would need ground to use the word in front of. And yeah, what was the other one you used? You said in front of and before. You need ground. Before. There's no ground in the Quran.
There is.
Okay,
and that's what I'm going to build today. So last week, when I asked you to do, you gave me two alternatives. And you said they prostrated before him, or you said to show submission. right, to Adam. Then you gave your own interpretation by saying angels are our friends and whatever have you. I didn't ask you for explanation. You went further by explaining yourself.
No, I
I
tried
am
to falsify it. It's called
good. No
verification.
problem. No problem. That was your opinion, which I didn't argue about that because we are all entitled to our opinions. But then
No, you
now,
agree with me though.
no, I didn't agree with you.
No, of course you do, because
No,
you
no, I
don't
have the
understand.
video, dude. I
Let me
have the
show you
video.
how.
I have the
Let me show you
video.
how.
I can play the video to you.
The term prostration means always subservience. Whether you want to add the symbol or not, that's up to you. But you're always in agreement with me because it always means subservience.
Yes,
So you're
that's
always in agreement with me.
no, with the meaning of the word, I agree with you. I never said I didn't agree. I
No,
was
so
talking
when I
about
say angels are our friends, etc., you have no choice but to agree with me.
no. In that verse, I don't agree with you in that context because we need to know the subject. What happened? What really transpired? I ask you? Was Adam giving them commands? Did they command them?
No, God did.
Okay, God. Now, good. God did, right?
Yeah, they obeyed him. That's
So
why
now
they did what
I'm
they
going
did.
to give the verses, similar verses, chapter 15, verse 28, and I'm going to read to verse 33. And the word sujud, I'm not going to translate it, but we are going to put it into context. I'm not translating the word, right? So, anyways, chapter 15, verse 28 to 33. I said we are going to put it in the context, but I will leave the word out, the sujud.
Chapter
I will
what?
leave it. Chapter 15, verse 28 to verse 33. You can open from your side.
Yeah, I got it.
So, and when your Lord said to the angels, indeed, I will create a human from the agile of an aged man. Then he says, verse 29, and when I have organized him and blown into him from my spirit, then the word waka comes in, kaw, and fall down. Now, this word I'll put asterisk there. When it gets to you, I want you to translate the word for me. Now, fall down to him or before him as dash. The word sajidin is there, but I'm not translating it. Dash. Then verse 30. So the angels did a verb, an action there. Sajada, dash. All of them entirely. That is an action. It's a verb. 15 verse 31. Except Iblis. He refused to be with the dash, as sajidin in Arabic. Dash. Verse 32. He said, God said, Oh Iblis, why are you not with the dash as sajidin? Why are you not with them when they did that action, which we saw in chapter 15, verse 30? So now, chapter 15, verse 33, he said, he, Iblis, I am not to dash as a verb, as Judah. I'm not to do that to a human whom you have created from an angel of an aged man. Now, me and you must know what actually transpired before this command took place and they have to do this action to Adam. But we don't need to assume. We need to ask God to give us the clarification of what actually transpired. Does it have to do with a command that Adam was giving to the angels? Or does it have to do with how that actually the issue transpired? So let's check how the Quran explains that issue. Then we come back to see the meaning of the sujud or sajada which was mentioned. So when we go to Quran chapter 2 verse 30, and I'm going to read to verse 34, then we are going to see the context of what actually transpired before God gave the command. So chapter 2 verse 30, God says, and when your Lord said to the angels, I will place a successor on earth, they, the angels, said, will you place therein one who will corrupt and shed blood therein while we glorify with your praise and sanctify you? He, God, said, indeed, I know what you do not know, you the angels. Verse 31, he taught Adam the names of them all, kullaha, and then displayed them to the angels and said, that is God, inform me of the names of these if you should be truthful. That's what God did to the angels. Verse 32, they, the angels, said, glory be to you, God. We have no knowledge except what you have taught us. Indeed, you are the omniscient, the wise. Verse 33. He, God, said, O Adam, inform them of their names. And when he, Adam, had informed them of their names, he, God, said, Did I not tell you, the angels, that I know the unseen of the heavens and the earth, and I know what you reveal and what you conceal? He asked them a question. Verse 34. And when we said, when we sent to the angels, sujud, sajada, asjudu, to Adam, then they sajadu, they did the action, because it's a verb. So they did the action. Then God says, except Iblis, he refused and became arrogant and was of the disbelievers. Now I've put the verses into context by holding the word sajada without translating it. So now we are going back to chapter 15, verse 28 to verse 33. We actually saw what actually happened before God said they should do the action as a verb. So now, brother, let's go back into context. Chapter 15, verse 28 to 33. And when your Lord said to the angels, Indeed, I will create a human from agile of an aged man. And when I have organized him and blown into him from my spirit, then the word waka'a comes from the word waka'a, which in Arabic it means to fall down. Fall down. Now let's leave the word sajidin. Let's not put it in English. But that action you see there, if I ask you to describe to me that, let's assume we put the word show submission there.
The word show is not necessary. Just say submit. I don't know why you always say show.
I will come to that. Because there's a difference between the word submit in Arabic, also direct word submit, which is what? Aslim.
Also, what's
That
surrender?
is, that's, dude, one word can have multiple meanings, just like an English word can have multiple meanings.
Also, why can it not mean submit? Why can
It
sajda not mean submit?
it can mean, but the act of the word sajada in Arabic is actually an action you do to show a submission. We are talking about a language here, Arabic. We're not talking about English here.
Why do you keep saying that?
Because the Quran wasn't in the French language, was it?
My friend, does sajda and prostration, do they describe different phenomena or the same phenomena?
The word sajda in Arabic, it describes the same phenomena.
So what relevance is English or Arabic then? If they describe the same
Oh my
phenomena,
God! Stop talking like that. Don't say what is relevant.
why
What do you
not,
mean?
brother? Because it seems to me, Shoaib, you're
Yes.
very eager to use some sort of authority card.
No, I'm not using authority. I'm just showing you the difference here. What
No,
is
but I'm trying to
authority
show
here?
you that instead of assuming that Arabic has some sort of authority in this discussion, you
It
need
has, dude. It
okay,
has.
Shoaib, let me finish the sentence. Listen, simply saying it has means nothing. I need you to prove it has.
I'm proving to you. I just
I
proved when we
just
started.
disproved you, Shoaib. Let me
No,
show you.
where is the
Let me show you
disproof
how I
there?
did, Shoaib. Let me show you
Where
how
is
I
the
did,
disproof?
Shoaib, brother. I've been listening to you all day. Let me finish the sentence, please.
Okay, okay.
Let me show you. Let me show you how I disprove you. The
Mm-hmm.
word sajda and
Mm-hmm.
the word prostration, are
Mm-hmm.
they both applied to the same exact phenomena or not?
Yes, they are.
The exact same phenomena.
Yes.
So what relevance does Arabic hold here then?
What do you mean? What relevance does Arabic hold?
If we agree that what they're basically
I told
applying
you.
an
Yes.
Arabic label. Look, they're
Mm-hmm.
both applying. One is
Mm-hmm.
applying an Arabic label to a phenomena. The other
Mm-hmm.
one is applying an English label to a phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
Fact of the matter is, as long as we understand the phenomena, the language is irrelevant.
So now, how can we understand the phenomena if we don't put such words into context? We are
Oh,
putting it.
I'm totally with you, and this is
Yes.
why
So
I
that's
keep
what we
telling
are
you.
doing. Yes,
Okay,
that's what
fine.
we are doing.
Okay,
But
fine. But the context that you are speaking of, Shuaib,
uh-huh.
does not support your assertion that you have
Okay.
to add the word showing submission. Submission
Yes,
is something
because
that you
dude,
do. Okay, let me finish
dude.
the sentence, bro.
Uh-huh.
Submission is something that you do, not something that you show. The physical prostration is something that you show, not submission. Submission is something that you do, period.
Dude, when animals show submission, when they do submission to each other, how do you see it? For instance,
What did
when a
you say when
crocodile,
animals show submission to each other?
yes, they do. You don't know?
Okay, in other words, you mean when they physically prostrate?
No, not only prostrate. Animals can have different ways of showing submission to each other. You don't know? If you
Do
don't know,
you,
just tell me you don't know.
do you think the word prostration is limited to a particular act?
Dude, do I think that prostration is limited to a
Is
particular
limited to
act?
a
It's an
particular
action.
physical act.
Prostration here, the word prostration is a noun. It defines an action, right? So it's an act.
Yeah,
So
it's
if,
an act, but it's not a
yes,
particular act. Like the
no,
word prostration can
uh-huh,
apply to you can, if you lie fully on the ground, that's
yes,
prostration. If you just have your head on the ground, that's prostration.
yes, yes,
If you simply put your head down without even
mm-hmm,
necessarily going to the ground, that
yes,
alone is prostration. So
good,
so
good. We are
so
talking
how
about the
do you
same thing
understand
now.
the term?
We are talking about the same thing now. I agree with you on that. We are talking about the same now. So now, since we know the meaning of the words, what it means, right? And you are asking me, oh, it's in Arabic, so what is the relevance here? We have to put it in the context to come to an agreement, true or false.
No, we agree. But
Good. So,
you said
uh-huh.
but I have to say that you keep insisting the term showing submission.
Yes,
All I'm
yes,
asking you to
because
do
look,
is to justify it.
yes, in Arabic language, the direct meaning of sajada cannot mean submission.
Okay, prove it, Shu'aib.
I prove it.
Go ahead, prove it.
Yes, I'm going to prove it. So I just gave
Okay.
you a context here, right? I gave you a context, an action which actually happened. God commanded them to do. So
Is
now,
submission
Ahmed,
not an action?
I want you good, but it's an act of surrendering, right?
But
It's an action. I'm defining what is the issue here. Let me define. It's
okay,
an submission is an act of surrendering or yielding to another.
okay,
That is submission.
okay.
But now, right now, I'm sitting here, Shoaib. I've submitted to God. But then, or let's say I've submitted to Adam. Let's see, as a king. How am I going to show him the submission if he didn't give me any commands according to the verses I just read? There wasn't any command from Adam. There wasn't any instructions from Adam where he told me to do. But I wanted to show. I want to submit to him. Tell me on which grounds do I need to submit?
Yeah, it's
How?
simple. It simply mean it just simply means before that individual and not against that individual. As a matter of fact, it's even verifiable. Look at this. Number one, it's verifiable because A, the angels are for us, aka they've submitted to us.
It's
The,
not us.
the,
I'm talking about
you've got
one
to let me
entity,
finish,
dude.
right? You've got to
No,
let me finish.
the explanation is irrelevant. This is why I'm interrupting you.
Shoaib, you've got to
We're
let me
talking
finish,
about.
Shoaib. You
I
can't have a
understand,
conversation where
Ahmed.
you interrupt me all the time, my
I
bro.
understand, but you know we are dealing with time. It's not about always explaining. That's what I
No,
want you
but
to understand.
Shoaib, it's not about explaining. It's
Yes.
about justifying your claim. Making claims is easy.
Was it all of
Substantiate,
us?
Shoaib. Let me finish, Shoaib.
Uh-huh.
Come on,
Uh-huh.
bro. Let's be civil here.
Yes. Talk.
Making claims is easy. It's
Mm-hmm.
about substantiating your claims. That's what it's about. So, for instance, let's say in Adam's case and in the
Mm-hmm.
angels, yeah. So let's
Mm-hmm.
say there are two possibilities. Either A, the angels basically collapsed physically to
Mm-hmm.
show the symbol of prostration to Adam. That's
Mm-hmm.
one option. The
Mm-hmm.
other option is that the angels simply submitted to us in a sense where they are not against us, they are for us. Whereas Satan, he did not submit to us, and lo and behold, he is against us. Those two things are verifiable. On top of that, even if you say that the angels showed Adam the physical symbol of submission. Even if they showed him the physical symbol of submission, that would just symbolize what I am saying, which is They gave him the symbol to say, we are for you. Whereas Satan did not give him the symbol to say, I am against you. So the only difference between my position and your position, my position is already justified. Yours is just a symbol of mine. That's literally all it is. So my position is, let me finish. So my position is already justified. However, if we contemplate the possibility or the necessity that the angels literally physically prostrated, I cannot think of a single argument to say that they must have done so. I can't think of one. You give me an argument.
I gave you the verses, chapter 2, verse 30 to 34. I read it to you. There wasn't any command from Adam, right? Was he commanding them to do anything? Did he command the angels? None. Then God said, asjudu. He used the verb, asjudu, lil Adam. So how am I supposed to submit to somebody without any rules or commands coming? In which sense? Do you connect submission, the submit here? Can you phantom what you're trying to put there when it's not there?
Okay.
It's an action. How do they submit to Adam? That's my question to you. Prove to me how they do the submission. Don't put for us. That is the first human being created at that time. Tell me, you explain to us now. You said the word is submit. It cannot mean prostration. That's what you said. So now prove to me how they submit to Adam.
Okay. My Lord. Angels are servants of God. Am I correct or incorrect? I want to see
Correct.
where you find a problem. Angels
Correct.
are servants of God. Is that correct or
Correct.
incorrect?
Correct. Correct.
Correct. Cool. All right. So when God created these new species, the other species, the already existing species, namely angels and jinns, they can either be for this new species or be against these new species. Am I correct or incorrect?
Yes, you're correct.
I'm correct, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So since we agreed that they can either be for these new species or be against these new species, God has informed them, or yet better yet, commanded them to be for these new species, whereas Iblis chose to be against these new species. Now, since you agreed with premise 1, and since you agreed with premise 2, on what grounds are you going to reject premise 3?
What is the premise 3?
I just gave you the premise 3. The premise 3 is that since you agreed that the earlier species, namely jinns and angels, can either be for these new species or against these new species, you've already agreed to that premise. So since you've
But
agreed
what?
to that premise,
Yes.
since
Uh-huh.
you've agreed to
Mm-hmm.
that premise, God
Mm-hmm.
has now commanded them to be for these new species. So the angels have chosen to be for these new species, whereas Iblis has chosen to be against these new species. So since you agreed with premise 1, premise 2, like it's not possible for you to disagree with premise 3.
And I said, I'm only asking you, how did they submit to Adam? That's my question to you still. I'm repeating my question I asked you. How did they do it? I want to ask you. That's what I'm asking you. Show me, prove to me how they did it.
Okay, I'll tell you how they did it.
Because
Angels are
God says they did it.
okay, cool, no problem.
Mm.
Angels are servants of God, right?
Mm-hmm.
God commands them to do certain services.
Mm-hmm.
Those services, relate to us. Those services have to do with us. For instance, angels bring us revelation. Angels even fight by our side
Ahmed,
if
can
we're
I stop
trying
you
to.
here a bit? Can I stop you here a bit?
Okay.
Don't bring us into the picture. I'm talking
Why?
about Adam. Don't bring us. We're talking about what transpired at the time of Adam. He was alone. That's the time I'm talking about. Don't bring
But
us
Adam is
into
a
the picture.
representative of human beings, is he not?
I know, but we are not talking about us. Take us out.
But
Talk
how
about
can you
Adam.
take us out if he's a representative of human beings?
If you are talking about the Father, you stay to Father. You don't talk about Son. So
No, no,
let's
no,
stick
no.
with the Father. It's a question I ask you based on the
Okay.
Father. So are you not going to give me the answer I want? You want to talk the way you want?
No, it's not
Or
about
what?
talking the way I want. It's
Good.
about
So my question is, prove to me, how did they submit to Adam? That's my simple question.
okay. Shaib, again, this comes back down to literacy. Adam, Adam, in that particular context that we are reading, is not more than a representative of human beings. Am I lying or not?
Good.
Okay. So since Adam is a representative of a human beings in that particular context, the discussion is a discussion about angels and human beings and not something particular to Adam. That's how reading works, right?
I showed you in chapter 2, verse 30 to 34. It's something particular about Adam. So now you are taken out of context of the Quran.
Okay. Okay. So you agreed with me a minute ago. Now you're gonna disagree with me.
I
Okay,
agree
cool.
with you based on your example, not based on the explanation of the Quran.
Okay, so
So get the
are you
difference.
saying they were to prostrate to Adam alone, and Adam was not a representative of human beings in that context? Is that what you're
I,
saying?
ne- I never said he was not a representative. When you gave your examples, I answered yes or no, and I gave you yes, right? But I'm
Okay,
talking
but then there's
about,
no argument then.
no, you are bringing an explanation which is not in the Quran. I
What
gave you
explanation
what
have I brought?
good. I gave you what transpired. The reason why after that God told them to do the sujood, sajada. Chapter
Huh?
2, verse 30 to 34. When I read it, were you following? Were you with me when I was reading?
Yes. Okay.
Did you see what transpired?
I did see what transpired.
Good. So if you have seen and heard what have transpired, Adam showing them the names of everything, and they couldn't show
Sorry,
the names,
Adam showing them what?
the names of whatever God
Adam
asked him
wasn't
to
sure.
show.
Oh, okay. When he was told to show what he learned. Okay.
So now you, okay, now you're
No,
with
no,
me
no.
because
When he was told, but he was told, there's a difference between him being commanded to do something and him speaking of his own. You acted as though he had a word with the angels.
no, I never said no. God, well, God gave him a command that to
Yeah, that's
show the
different.
angels.
Yeah.
He gave him a command to show the angels something, right? And he did. So after he did, God then asked the angels, okay, you show me the names of this. The angels said, we don't have the knowledge. It's only what you have taught us. So it was after that, then God says, do the sajada for Adam. So now
Okay.
this is the context
Okay.
of what transpired. Then I'm asking you, Ahmed, simply, no explanation. I don't need explanation, please.
So
I'm
that's
asking
not
you
how
simply.
conversation works. You need to stop saying that. I don't
No,
need explanation. Like
no, dude.
we're conversing. You don't tell people
Converse.
how to speak, bro.
Yes, it's not about how you speak. Get my point. I can ask you 1 plus 1 and I tell you, Ahmed, don't explain. I just need an answer. It's a
No, but if my
conversation.
explanation answers, then it answers.
Then that becomes an assumption again. Because if I'm looking for your explanation, it's about your opinion now. Because I've
No,
already told you
no,
the Quran
no.
has given us the context. Get my
We
point.
are conversing. So, in order to prove my point, I will utilize logic. You don't
Yeah,
dismiss
logic is
logic. What's
allowed.
wrong with you?
No, logic is allowed. But when it comes to the question of yes or no, it is not about explanation. Ahmed, I cannot just ask you, are you married or single, and you need to explain anything to me.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
about yes or no in some
I
cases.
don't, Shoaib, I don't explain anything. What I do is I
Uh-huh.
evaluate both positions and I show you
Mm-hmm.
why one is not possible. That's not something to dismiss.
Good.
It's a logical
Good.
thing to do.
No
It's a
problem.
process of elimination.
No problem. So chapter 2, verse 30 to 34, I told you what Adam just did, right? And
Okay.
we all saw it. So
Okay.
after that, then God says this will do the sajada to Adam. So now I've put all the context for you here. Quran itself has shown us the context. So now I've given it to you. Then I ask a simple question. Tell us or show me, how did Adam submit? How did the angels submit? Because you put the word submit to there. So how did they submit to Adam? How did they do that? I want to know. No, don't bring us humans into the picture now. The other.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to speak now. When you say don't bring us humans into the picture, on what grounds do you get to say that in that context when the context is about angels submitting to human beings? Like you have to make the argument that the context has nothing to do with angels per se and human beings per se. Can you make that argument?
It was mentioned human, not humans.
Huh?
It is human mentioned, not humans.
And
Do you see the difference there? It's
no,
the difference. There's a difference between if I tell you a book and books. There's a big difference.
Okay, one can be a representative of the rest. What's your point?
No problem. One can be a representative, no problem. But now I'm asking you a question of a book, one book. Don't tell me about books. That's all I said. A
Shoaib,
book.
do you have a problem with context, brother? I don't understand. This is just literacy. Are you listen? Either in this context, Adam represents humanity, or he does not. Make your case. Is this about Adam particularly, or is this about Adam as a representative of human beings? Which do you think this context is about?
The context is about Adam.
Particularly,
Yes.
not as a representative as
Chapter
human beings.
2, verse 30 to 34 clearly tells us what the context was about. It's about Adam.
Okay, tell me why you think it's about Adam particularly, because there is nothing. No, I'm talking straight. Can we be like civil here? You're just moving your head around.
I don't. No, I don't.
Even,
I don't even see you. Why is your video off?
I'm gonna put my video in a second. Listen to this, yeah.
Uh-huh.
What I was saying to you, in the context that we are speaking about the context of a new species. That's what we are speaking about. A new species. And then what this new species does is he goes and basically shows the capacity of this new species, namely namely memorizing the names of objects. So it's a new species, and he shows the capacity of said new species. And angels are another species. So in this particular context where we are discussing about two particular species, and one particular species shows his capacity, how did you go beyond the fact that this is about the new species to this is about this particular individual himself? Like, how did you get there?
Chapter 2, verse 30 to 34. Whatever transpired is centered around Adam.
Okay,
That's
but
how I
Adam
got
is the
there.
representative of human beings.
That's
Is
not
he
what we are
not?
discussing. No, that's not what we are discussing. Stop.
This is
Look.
insanity.
When we are talking about a subject, don't move to another topic.
But
Let's
Shoaib,
stay.
I
Let's
have
stay where we
justified my
are
position.
based on
And
my
you,
question. Okay, dude. Let's make it simple. Chapter 41, verse 37. Among his signs are the night and the day, as well as the sun and the moon. Do not sajada to the sun or to the moon, but sajada to God, the one who created them, if it is him you are serving or worshiping. Chapter 41, verse 37. Tell me, how is a person supposed to submit to a sun and the moon? If they can talk, if they can give a command, how is it possible? Tell me.
no problem.
Give me the context.
No problem. As you will see in every other society, especially every other pagan society,
Mm-hmm.
there will be clergy. There will be men who claim to speak in the name
Mm-hmm.
of this divine object.
Mm-hmm.
So that's throughout the Quran. For instance, the last mushriks, for example, in Prophet Muhammad's time, they made up a female angel. Well, how is that female angel going to give them commands? Well, there were people who gave themselves titles and said, okay, this is how you pray to this female angel, and this female angel would prohibit this and that and this and that. So it is men who will basically give themselves the authority, and that is what we find throughout the Quran.
I only ask you that how are we supposed to submit to the moon and the sun? You are explaining about men.
Yes, because those men will give you
Remember
commands, and they will
chapter
associate
27.
that with
Okay,
the
I
moon and
understand
the
you.
sun and the stars.
I understand what you said, but that doesn't answer my question still. So chapter 27, verse 23 to 24. The bird went and saw these people submitting to the sun, right? According to you, the word submitting. So they were submitting to the sun. I would like to know, what did the bird actually see? How did they see the submission
What
to
did you
the
say?
sun?
Bird.
Yeah, the bird. Chapter 27, verse 23 to 24. The bird of Moses, Hudhud. He went and saw that.
He
So
went and
how?
saw that.
Yes, he saw the action, what they were doing to the sun.
Yeah.
Yes.
He saw the traditions that they practice. Would he not?
Yeah, he said they were according to you, the word sajada only is submit in the Quran only. So
If
they
I
were
may.
submitting, yes, they were submitting to the sun. So now I'm asking you, how did he see them submitting to the sun? How are they doing that?
Okay.
He
Now,
didn't say, look, listen, let me put it in the
flipping
context
hell,
well.
you
He
asked
didn't
the
say,
question and
yeah,
answer it properly.
let me rephrase the question well, properly, so that I get the answer the way I will like it. He didn't say he went and saw somebody giving command to the people to submit to the sun. He said he went and saw the people submitting to the sun, not somebody giving instructions. So I want you to tell us, how are the people submitting, because it's an action. So how are they submitting to the sun that the bird has to see?
Okay. The community of Shuaib, the community of Lot, the community of Abraham, the community of Muhammad, etc. All of them, all of them did sajda to particular things that exist and things that don't exist. And when he speaks of what they all had in common, they all had the making up of random laws in common. For instance, Shu'aib's community, they would have random economical laws that would basically oppress some people. Um, Lot, you already know what they did. The Prophet Muhammad's time, you already know what they did. Fact of the matter is, every single society that practiced shirk, to cut a long story short, every single society that practiced shirk practiced commands. Every single society, they practiced commands that God did not approve of, and which were the end of their society. Now, as for um, as for so-called prostrating or submitting to the sun, again, the sun, the angels, whatever Lord, quote unquote, that they worshipped were not something real. However, what was real was the commands that they made up, which God did not approve of, and that has always been the problem. Even if you look at the opposite, which is what you are trying to put forth, namely prostrating to the moon or prostrating to the sun, you tell me, how do you do that? How do you physically prostrate to the sun or to the moon?
Dude, you just defined prostration to me. You remember?
I define that as sub. Okay, no. The physical prostration. I want to know how you
Yes,
physically. I want to know how
you
you
defined it
physically.
already.
Can I ask? I can't. Can I ask a question, Shoaib? I want to
Good.
know how you physically prostrate to or towards the sun and the moon.
When the
And
moon
what kind of prostration, by the way? Because prostration could be laying down, it could be head on the ground, it could be just head bowing down. You tell me.
is still prostration. So far as I see somebody getting down, facing the sun, and doing whatever he's doing. Remember, he's facing an object and doing whatever he's doing. I can see the sign of prostration because I know the definition of prostration. So when I see the person doing that, just like I see people doing it to the Kaaba, doing it to the whatever wall, stones, that is prostration. So I can
But
see him doing to the sun. So this
okay,
is a physical act.
but the sun is above you. It's never in front of you.
So no. So if it's above you, still, what do you mean it's not in front of you?
Well, if you're not prostrating to it if it's not in front of you.
Who
If
said
it's
so?
well, I'll
Dude,
tell
dude,
you.
dude, dude,
Well,
dude.
we
Stop
were
there,
in a
stop there.
conversation. Like you asked me
Yes,
who said so. Let me tell you in it.
yes.
Now,
Who?
I'm saying because let's say for instance you prostrated
Mm-hmm.
to the sun, yeah,
Yeah.
physically prostrated to
Yes.
the sun,
Yes.
and
Yes.
let's say I was to see you. Now, how am
Mm-hmm.
I going to conclude that you are prostrating to the sun when there's buildings and all sorts of stuff in front of you, and the sun is actually above you? How am I going to conclude that?
Dude,
You
when
asked me.
people, no, yeah,
Yeah.
people are doing something. When people are doing something, you are surveying what they are doing, right? When you're surveying what they are doing, can't you know by what they are doing in their community or in their surroundings, whatever they devote themselves to? Can't you see it?
I'm asking you, how can I identify that it's actually the sun that they are physically prostrating to when the sun is above them and there are many things in front of them? How am I going
Yes,
to identify?
yes, dude. People bow down to God in prayer, but they are bowing down to God. If you don't ask them, how can you know what they are bowing down to?
No, but the people that bow down to God, the people that
Mm-hmm.
insist, the people that say
Yes.
that, the people that say that bowing down, physically putting your head on the ground, is
Uh-huh.
prostrating to God, they have a particular symbol which they say that they are facing,
That
namely
is
the
them.
Kaaba.
Yes.
And
That is,
notice that the Kaaba
yeah.
is on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that is them. When you take the context concept of from the previous scripture, by the way, I don't see you still. When you take the scripture, the previous scriptures, there is a concept of bowing down, prostrating to God, falling down for God. It's about what you purpose in your head. It is not always about what you see in front of you, which defines prostration. So if
I
I'm
don't see the previous revelation is not a criterion for me.
well, anyway, I'm just giving an example. I can even confirm by the Quran, go verse by verse. But let's move on to the issue deeply
Before
because
we move on,
we are.
can I just say one
Uh-huh.
thing?
Yes.
The prostrations that we know of that
Mm-hmm.
are physically, they
Mm-hmm.
tend to have a physical object on the ground in front of them.
Yeah,
Now,
that is them. Mm-hmm.
no, I'm saying that's the ones we know of. I don't know of people prostrating to celestial objects.
People
I've never
do.
seen that.
Yeah, well, I've seen. Well, I've seen.
Okay, how did you identify it?
I identify by asking them, and
Oh,
sometimes you have to observe.
see,
No, wait,
asking them is
wait.
different. You told me
Yes, but
earlier
wait,
about
wait. Let me
seeing.
finish. Wait. I observe them again, and sometimes I ask them, and they tell me what they do. You understand? I met somebody here in Finland who actually bows down the night to the moon, facing the window when the moon is shining, the full moon. The person bows down and then face the moon in the window and does some chanting or whatever they do. Sometimes by seeing, you can observe and know by yourself without even asking. That is
But you've
exactly what
only
the
told me
bed.
about asking.
No, I
You haven't
haven't
told me
finished
about.
talking. No, wait. I haven't finished talking when you cut me off. I was
Okay,
still
sorry.
giving you the answer to the question. So then you interrupted. So I was trying to
Okay.
tell you, you can know by asking, you can know by observing. You understand? You can know by a lot of ways to know when what people are serving and bowing down to or prostrating to. Now, when I gave you the verse, chapter 27, verse 23 to 24, concerning the bed, what the information the bed brought to Prophet Suleiman, I only ask you a question based on how you understood what the bird went to see and came back to tell Suleiman. But when we check the context of the verses, the context says they are rather doing sujud to the sun and not to God. You understand? But in this context, even if sujud here can mean just submitting to the rules of somebody, are we saying, are the people who saying it only means submission? Are you saying, can't I also submit to somebody just like God commanded the angels, according to you, to submit to Adam? So what wrong did they do by submitting to the Son? But that is not actually the issue there. It is about prostration in the act of worshiping the Son. So in some literatures, Arabic literatures, when you take, they translate the word sujud as worship. I don't know if you ever came around that based on the context. The word sujud is translated as worship. And even masjid in some literatures is translated as a place of worship. I don't know if you have ever come across such literatures. Are you with me?
Uh-huh.
Now, let's not stall. on this particular issue of, I know it's about agreeing to disagree. You can say, oh, it's submitting. I can say it's prostration.
No,
But
it's
now,
not about what we say or agree to disagree. It's about what can be substantiated. That's what I'm
yes,
asking you to do.
well, look, I can substantiate the act of prostration in the Quran, and which I'm going to do now,
Okay.
if time will permit us. So, for instance, when we go to chapter 12, verse 100 of the Quran, when Surah to Yusuf, where it says, وَرَفَعَ أَبَوَيْهِ عَلَى الْعَرْشِ وَخَرُّوا لَهُ سُجَّدًا. And when he, Joseph, raised his two parents, Abawayhi, two parents, he raised them upon the throne. I mean, in the sense of get up and sit down. And they fell down before him in prostration. I know you might say the word, or maybe in submission. Let's put the word, submission there. Let's not put prostration. Let's not put prostration. So let's say they fell down before him or to him in submission, or showing submission. Now, if I say define its act, just this act they did, define it in one word for me. In English or in Arabic, you will have a word to pronounce that. You either say prostration or you either say sajada, right? Now, you can now start arguing and say, why will they prostrate? You said prostration can be done to an object. So it can be a human being and before somebody. So let's put the sun out. Let's put God out. Now, this context of this verse. If you are going to tell me the harra doesn't make sense there, I will only simply ask you what as harru or harra means. And if you want to put on your own meaning, I'll take you back to the Quran and show you where harru was used. Chapter 22, verse 31, and chapter 16, verse 26.
Can we
God
just
used
deal with one
harra
verse
into
at a
question.
time? We keep jumping to all kinds of verses. So let's deal with this verse.
Chapter 12, verse 100.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Good.
So when it says when he raised his parents upon the throne, is that literal?
It's literal.
It's literal. So
Yes.
did they fall off the throne?
Yeah, they fell down.
So
In the sense of losing an upright position and went down to the ground before him.
Okay, but what was the point of putting them on the throne if they're just gonna fall down?
What was
I
the
want you to think
point?
about this. Just one needs to follow the other. So they were put upon the throne and then
Yes.
they fell down. How does one follow the other to you?
No. Now let me give you the answer you asked. Somebody came to you because if you continue the context of 99, they came to him to Misra, Egypt. Now, when somebody visits you, we all know logically you give them a seat to have a seat,
Is this
right?
any seat though?
A throne
Yeah, so it's not any seat though, is it?
is not any seat; it's a throne at the king's
Yeah,
palace.
it's more than just a normal seat.
Exactly, in a king's palace. So,
Okay.
and you know how thrones are elevated,
Yes.
whatever king place. Good.
So he
So now,
elevated them and then they decided to drop.
good. Let me speak. And then they fell down before him. Lahu, in context, is a masculine pronoun. So they fell down before him.
Why are you saying before to the word lahu?
Yes, in Arabic, the word lahu can mean before him, can mean to him, can mean for him. Based on the context, I can say to him or before him.
Okay, just a quick question. Is there an
Good.
example in the Quran where lahu means before him?
Lahu means before him.
Yeah, is there an example in the Quran where that is the case?
No, we are just talking about a verse
I
which
mean, the
says
adage,
before
so
him.
there is. Huh?
There is a lot. I can give you an example, but we are just talking about a verse which used the before him.
But
So
look,
now you are
just
talking
answer
about a
it,
different.
right?
Oh no,
The
wait. I'll
question,
go
just
to that.
answer.
I'll go to that. But so you want to see where it's also say before him or before you or before them or something. How it's the lahu is used. That's what
I
you
want
mean.
to, I'm asking you. I'm not even arguing with you. I'm asking
Mm-hmm.
you. Is
Yes.
there a verse where lahu
Mm-hmm.
is translated as before him specifically?
Yes, there is.
Which verse is that?
Yes. Wait. Let me give you.
Actually,
So
pause that for a second. Pause that for a second.
Uh-huh.
Just a quick question.
Uh-huh.
Why do you think, in this context, that the parents fell down from the throne, just to literally,
Nazwa. Uh-huh.
physically?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that the parents in this particular verse
Mm-hmm.
fell down from the throne,
Mm-hmm.
just to literally, physically show their own child that they have prostrated to him? Why
Because
do you think that's the case?
he has been elevated in the king's house. He has been given prominence in the king's house.
Okay, but that doesn't necessitate physical prostration. So I'm asking
It is. So check the words. We can check word by word and go.
Tribe, listen to what I'm saying to you.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think it's necessary that the parents necessarily did the physical act of showing their own son prostration? Why do you think that that's the case?
Because I just gave you the answer, dude. Are you listening at all? He has been elevated in the king's palace.
Okay, so let me give you an example.
He has been given prominence. If
Okay,
you go to a
let me
king's
give you an
palace,
Okay,
before you
let me
give the
you an
example, no, before you give the example, if you go to a king's palace, the act of prostration is the act of showing submission to the position of whoever is given prominence in that house.
Okay, all right.
True or false? No, true or false?
I have no problem with the fact that he has a position of prominence, but you're making a huge leap here. So, for
There's
instance,
no.
let me finish, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, their own child has now basically shown them the particular position that he holds. He has put them on the throne. Their own child has shown them basically the prominence he has. So you have two choices. Either A, they humble themselves and submitted to his lead, because clearly he now showed that he has a position of prominence. So either A, they humbled themselves and submitted to his lead, or B, they necessarily, physically fell on the ground and basically showed him the symbol of prostration. So when you have either A or B, A is already justified. Even if you say B, A is justified because that's the purpose of B. So A is already justified. So the question is, what makes you think B is necessary?
First of all, the wordings, the context justifies B.
Why?
Good. Now let's analyze the word harra. Where did you get the word humble there in that context, in that verse? Where did the word humble come from? Translate the word humble for me in Arabic.
The word does not translate literally as humble.
So what
However,
does harra mean?
bro, you gotta let me talk, bro. However, contextually in English, I can use that term because contextually it is better suited for me in English. However, if we talk about what the word means, the word simply means falling, and the word falling is not necessarily literal. So, because the word falling is not necessarily literal, because it's not necessarily literal, falling is synonymous to humbling down, to humbling yourself.
Who said
Because
it's not?
it's not
Who said it's not
necessarily
necessarily literal? Who said that? Is that your opinion?
no, I can give you examples in the Quran.
Give me one.
Guys in the chat, please help me out.
I know you quote chapter 25, right?
Hmm?
You quote chapter 25,
So you know it exists.
and I can show you where harra means literally. When you
No,
said it
but
cannot necessarily mean literally.
see, it's right. See, now you're being quite deceptive
Let me
because
talk here. Let me talk
wait.
here.
Now you're
No,
being
no,
deceptive,
don't use
right?
the word deceptive. Let me talk
No,
here.
no, because
Let me
no,
show
because
you
let me
the
tell you
reason
why.
why I
Let me
did
tell you
that.
why. Because
Let
listen,
me
let me tell
show
you
you
why.
the reason I
You
said
can't
that.
misrepresent me, right? I did
Okay,
not say
speak.
to you. I did not say to
Mm-hmm.
you that it
Mm-hmm.
cannot be literal. I said
you
not
say it cannot necessarily. Yes,
Yeah, do
that's
you know
what
what
you
the
said.
word necessarily means? Necessarily means it's not a must. That is not the same as saying it is never the case. So you're straw manning me, right? I'm simply saying the word falling, just like in English, you can use falling down literally, or you can say fell in love or fell in a state of shock, etc. So it depends on the context. You're the
Good.
one
So
who's insisting that
good.
it must be literal.
Yes, you the place you are saying it is not literal. It is not used literally. Check the context. It's talking about a word. So if it is talking about a word, for instance, when we use the word fall in love, right? So far as we know the subject, we are talking about love. If we use the word fall, everybody in his right mind will know that it's not about physically falling down, right? So similarly, when God used the word here, when God also used the word here in chapter 75 chapter 25 verse 73, you have to check the subject of what God was talking about. He's talking about the verses of God. So if he says the verses of God don't fall on deaf ears, don't fall on deaf ears. The context, the subject in the verse, the context will tell you that based on the context, we are not talking about physically falling down. So
it
it can
depends on the
can be used. Good. It can
I
be
have no
used.
problem with that. I've always said that.
No, that doesn't only depend on the context. I said it depends on the subject it's talking about first. The subject is the verses of God.
Bro,
in
this is
that
not
verse.
maths. This is not chemistry. This is
So what?
literacy.
So
Literacy
that
has context. Listen,
okay,
literacy has context. You don't need to
good.
discuss the word subject.
Yes, you need
No, you
literacy.
don't. No, you
Literacy,
don't.
dude.
Because, right,
Relax.
two-way conversation. Because the term context and the
Uh-huh.
term subject are synonymous when you are discussing literacy.
They are synonymous. I
Not
understand.
exactly.
Good. I understand definitely, but they are both needed. So
What? They're
yes, they
synonymous.
are.
They're not two different things.
No. Yes, it depends how you utilize it. It depends
Okay,
how it
show
is
me in the
being used.
Quran where it can be two different things.
Dude, if I take the word verses out from that chapter 25 verse 73, if I take the verses out and I put a human being there, the context of the verse will change because I've changed the subject. Do you know
What?
that?
Repeat what you just said.
Open chapter 25 verse 73 so that you understand me better.
Go on.
Okay, so God says, and those whom, when reminded of the verses of their Lord. So that's the subject there. The verses. It's talking about the verses.
Is okay when you say that's the subject? Is it not the context?
It's not. Till I
My
finish the
God.
verses. No, wait, dude. Don't Let's not go back and forth on this issue. Let
No,
me
how
talk,
is it
please.
not the context?
It is not the context till I finish the verse. Let me finish the verse, then we get the context.
Oh wait. Even if you haven't finished the verse, we don't know what the context is about. Just like you
Dude,
identified the subject,
last
but you
last
said
week,
you haven't
last
identified the
week,
context.
last week I gave you a sentence without a subject, and I said put it into context. You couldn't do that. You were dumbfounded looking at me.
I still don't know what you're talking about, right?
Last week I said I gave you a sentence, and I said he said left, and that's right. Then I
That's
said
not a
full stop.
sentence.
It's a sentence.
No, it's not a sentence.
It starts with a
A
pronoun.
sentence has to make sense.
Listen. Yes, it makes sense.
No, it doesn't. That's not.
He
That's not
said,
English. That's
no,
not the
dude.
correct English grammar.
Dude, define sentence for me. Open your this thing and let me teach you
This is
English. If you think it's not,
insanity.
you say it's not English grammar. So let's learn English.
So if I say to
Define,
you, blue ball sun
dude. I
short,
said
let me
define,
finish. Sorry,
define
bro.
sentence.
Two-way conversation, man. Listen. If I say to you blue sun short fat dot, is that a sentence?
That's not what we are talking about. I
No,
said
is
open
that
the
a sentence?
dictionary.
You answer my question.
You haven't answered my question. Don't
See,
tell me to answer your
this is
question.
not
I
what we
said
are
open the dictionary. Let's move on. My time is ticking. That's why you see
No,
me doing this.
straight. Like, are you
Look,
under the impression that that this is some sort of interrogation or something?
look,
When I
look.
ask you a question, you have to answer it.
I only said open a dictionary. I didn't say answer or whatever. Just we are dealing with
I have
time.
no problem opening the dictionary or whatever, but you can't keep dismissing every question.
That is not the sentence I gave you, dude. Is that the sentence I gave you? Blue,
It's
dot,
the same.
green, blue. It's not the
same.
same, dude.
It is the same.
Define sentence, please.
You
Then people can see.
You
so
define
you can define sentence.
You define it. You're making an argument. Make
Okay.
your argument.
A string of words satisfying the grammatical rules of a language. A string
Thank
of
you very
words.
much.
So now let's see the words. No, let me talk. Yes, let me talk, please. He said left. He is a pronoun. It's a subject here. He said is a verb. It's an action. That's a predicate here. We have a subject and we have a predicate. So he said left, and that is right. So that is a complete sentence.
No, it's not.
It is a sentence.
Okay, now I'm going to respond to you. Listen. He said left. Okay, he said left. If you would have just left it at that, that would have been a sentence. But he said left, and that is right, goes against the grammatical rules of the language, which was literally what the definition of sentence gave you. That is not a sentence.
Dude. According to which book? Yes, I just defined sentence for you. Didn't I define it?
Okay, you defined it, but what you call a sentence
what does grammatical rules entail?
That criteria. Do you comprehend that?
Tell us the grammatical rules. What does it entail?
What?
Tell us, what does grammatical rules entail? What does it entail?
What do you mean?
The listeners are watching. So tell them. Yes, define. You made me define sentence to you. So now you're asking me, oh, dude, come on, be serious. You ask me a question, I define for you. So I ask you a question.
He said,
no, I ask you.
That is right, is a sentence.
It's a sentence.
It's not English. In English,
what is it? Is it French?
No, is it left, French? And that is right.
Yes.
Listen, he said left is not right. So you can't say he said left and that is right, because right is not left. You literally cannot say he said left and that is right. Like
now you're confused.
The two can't go together.
You are confused. You see.
I'm confused.
No, you are. Yes, you are. So let's put that aside.
Anyways, how about this? I'm gonna fix it for you. He said left, and that is to his right. How about that?
That's your opinion. You see, you don't know the subject I'm even talking about.
That is as a sentence.
Dude, you make me figure out the kind of person you are. You try to put your own meanings to things. You should have asked simply. Last week when we did this, the simplest thing you should have done is, what is the subject? So I ask you, what is the subject? And you say, you know that. You say, I know that. Because I know the subject. So I can make up a sentence without telling you the subject. But then you need to ask me for the subject. Then you can now put the sentence I gave you into context. Now let me explain the sentence here. He said left, and that is right. Now let me explain the sentence. He said left. It is about an issue of direction. Then the person said left, right? So when the person said left, the sentence came by saying he said left, and that is right. Now the subject is talking about directions. Now somebody can say it's talking about right hand or left hand. Somebody can talk about, is saying about what is right or what is wrong. Somebody can put it in that context, and somebody else can put it in the direction of what? Giving directions. Somebody else can also put it in a different context because they don't know the subject. This is the simplicity of what I'm telling you. Now, before we end this, let's not stick to one point which has nothing to do with the topic anyway, going back and forth, because on that instance,
one place to another place, we're not dealing with anything.
Yeah, we are dealing with something because you let us stay on some things which are not on the subject. We are dealing with the subject. I took you to chapter 25, verse 73. And I said, if I take the word verses out, if I take verses out and I put humans there, the context of the verse will change because I've taken the subject out. Because that is not the initial subject there. Then you say it's the same thing. And I said, let's not go back to what? Good, whatever. Take it the same thing. No
let
problem.
me tell you why I say that.
But no, don't need to explain that.
When you say something, I have to have a chance to respond.
I understand. I said that's not the
But then
subject.
listen to
Let's
the
not stay
response.
on that.
Straight,
Dude, my
straight. If you don't want a response, do not make a claim, straight. Is that
and
hard
I
to fathom? You just
can
made
you
a claim
understand
now.
me for
What
once?
do you
Can
want
you
to do?
understand me
Get
for
away with
once?
it? Huh?
Can you understand me for once? I said let's not devote our time to that. We have a topic.
Then
Let's
don't
finish
make
it.
a claim.
Okay, I
Claims have
resign.
to be substantiated.
Good. I put that claim aside. So
Then
let's
don't
leave
make
it out.
it then.
Good. I put it aside. Now, chapter 22, verse 31 talks about physical harru, something coming from the sky and falling down. Chapter 16, verse 26 talk about physical harru, the roof of a building coming down and falling down. That is where harra are used. Now, when you check the subject, the content of that verse in entirety is talking about a literal thing. Harra, harru. It's a literal thing which actually can happen or happens.
Depending on the context, right?
Whatever.
Why are
Now,
you saying whatever? Answer my question.
dude, when I say whatever, means whatever you put there, it's okay.
No, bloody
But now,
right. Listen, there are people
okay,
watching.
dude.
They would
Yes.
like to enjoy this conversation. This is not a
Yes.
monologue. Answer
Okay.
the question, right?
The point is,
Is it?
you will
Does it
say
depend on the
context.
context, right?
I've already said it. I said based on the subject, the context, and context.
Why
And
do
you are
you
repeating
keep
the
saying
same word to me.
subject, man? What is wrong with you?
I will say it 1,000 times, dude.
But you need to
Is it?
justify it.
Good. I'm justifying it. Can
Go
you
ahead,
prove
do
me?
it, justify
No,
it.
wait. Good. Can you prove me wrong that chapter 22, verse 31 is a literal thing? If you
No,
can prove me wrong, then I need to justify. Chapter 22, verse 31. What God is talking about. The harra which appears there. Is it about humbling or is it about falling?
The parable is about falling.
It's not parable there.
Well, it is a parable.
Okay, anyways. So
literally why it says,
mhm.
Then it is as though. When you use the term, then it is as though you're bringing an analogy.
Okay. So the word falling there, is it about humbling or falling?
The context clearly would not allow humbling, would it?
Good. So now chapter 16, verse 26. We are just analyzing the word.
Remember what I said? The context would not allow it.
Good. I agree. So let's go chapter 16, verse 26. Again, it's used the word harra there.
Okay. To cut the long story short, rather than jumping around from verses to verses, do we agree that it's dependent on the context?
Not alone. Because the word, from my understanding, we can agree, but I said not alone, meaning you need things together.
Okay, could you give me an example when the context is not the final arbiter?
Dude, we are not going there again.
No, we are. You made a claim.
No.
This guy, there's something wrong with you, Shay.
You did. No.
Shay, this is not a monologue. Like, relax yourself.
I'm relaxed. Look. First of all, listen, I don't see your video.
Okay, just chill.
I don't see your video.
You will see my video. No,
dude. First of all, that alone got on my. Yes, pause. I can see you.
Okay, pause.
Because that alone.
Can I talk?
You can talk. I'm almost ending. Look, let's not be going back and forth.
Can I talk?
Talk.
Thank you. Allah. Okay. I said to you that whether it is literal or not is always determined by the context. I am willing to substantiate my claim using the context in the Quran. So that's my substantiation of my claim. You made the claim that it is not always determined by the context alone. That is a claim. In order for you to substantiate that claim, I need an example when the context is not the final arbiter of whether that word is literal or not. Thank you. Over to you.
And I told you it's not context alone. Then you asked me what? And I said you have to gather three things together: the subject, the context before you draw conclusion. So if you tell me the context, wait, let me finish. If you tell about the context alone, then I told you, what if I take this the main subject of discussion? What if I change it and put something else? You say the context will not allow it. You see that what you said? Then you say the context will not allow it. But it doesn't mean it's the context alone working. There is some subject, because if I take a word and I put different word and you say the context will not allow it, which means that word will not fit in the context. So still context will not allow that subject. So the subject has to be in line with the context.
Sorry,
before we get the content. What?
I'm not sure I'll follow you.
Good. So if you are not following me, anyways, we are ending soon.
Help me follow you.
Good. That is not the main subject of discussion. The subject of discussion is we are finding a word in the verse, right? We are finding a word in the verse. Then I told you, in that verse, the word harra, is it literal or non-literal? That is all. Yes, you say it's based on the context. Then I say,
always dependent on the context.
Good. Then I said, okay. So in that verse, 1626, is the harra, is it literal or non-literal?
Are we just going to keep flying from verse to verse? And I'm going to
Yes, it's part of it. No, it is. No, we are dealing with the Quran.
But the argument is simple. It's always determined by the context. So now I'm going to read the verse for you. I'm going to look at the context and say literally that it is determined by the context. Now, for instance,
let's see.
1626, you said, yeah?
Okay, so I'm done.
Verily scheme goes before them. But God came to their building from the foundations, so it fell down upon them the roof from above them, and it came to them the retribution from where not they perceive. Now, honest to God speaking, are you telling me the context does not clearly determine that?
We are not talking about that. I said the word, is it literal or non-literal? That's all I asked.
I'm saying the context determines that. Is that wrong or not?
Ahmed, did you understand my question?
I did.
Then answer that. Let's go. Answer that one I just said. That's all I need.
Okay. For me to know whether the word is literal or not is always determined by the context.
Okay, okay. I agree.
Is that incorrect?
I agree. So tell me, is it literal? Is it literal or non-literal?
In this context, clearly it's literal.
Good. It is literal. Good.
So was I right that the context determines that? Was I right?
Yes, you are right.
Okay,
Chapter
now
12.
I need you to be right and tell me when the context is not king.
No, when did I say context is not needed? I never say context is not needed.
I said no, I didn't say needed. Listen to the words that come out of my mouth. I'm saying context is king. It's the final arbiter. You said sometimes. So you need to justify that.
And I told you, if I start talking about, if I mention a subject and I don't go into a context, how can you deduce the context? Then you said I should give an example. Then I said, okay, for instance, if I mention God says, Akimus Salat, establish the Salat. And we stop there. Now it mentioned a subject. It mentioned the Salat. It's a subject. So if we stop there, God says, Akimus Salat. If I don't go throughout the Quran to find verses and put them into context, how can I have the context?
If I know the meaning of Salah, don't try it now. If I
I didn't say Salah. I said
the Salah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. This is the point. If I know the meaning of the Salah, then I have the context just as well as I have the quote unquote subject. I keep trying to tell you, when it comes to literacy, you cannot have subject and not have the context. They mean the same thing when it comes to literacy. You're struggling to comprehend that, Shai.
No, you don't. No,
listen.
It's not as if I don't comprehend you. Did I argue that context is not needed? Did I argue that?
No. See,
yes. So understand my position.
You're not understanding, Shai. You don't
I
understand?
understood you.
Listen to what I'm saying to you, Shoaib.
Uh-huh.
What I'm saying to you, when it comes to literacy, when it comes to something to do with reading for literacy purposes, yeah, not like for a particular subject such as chemistry, maths, whatever. You understand? Because they don't need to use sentences; they can just use scientific jargon. You understand? So they don't need context; they just need subjects. You understand? For instance, in maths, maths has subjects; it doesn't have context. You get it? Like addition is a subject, multiplying is a subject, division is a subject. They are not context. They apply to that. But when it comes to literacy, the term subject and the term context are literally the same thing. There is no such thing as I can have subject and not context, and no such thing as I can have context and not subject. Therefore, they are not two different things when it comes to literacy. That's the part you just will not understand. Over
Are
to
you
you.
done?
Yes.
Good. Whatever you said, I understood you perfectly because they are needed together. That's what I said. I understood what you meant.
You didn't if you said they needed together. They're not two
Yes,
different things.
they are needed together. Still, you don't get me. You see, you
Because you
want me.
speak of
Wait,
them
wait.
as though they're two
Relax,
different things. They're not.
relax, relax.
Okay.
Context and content are two different things in literacy. They work together. I gave you the definition when we started. I gave you the definition of it when we started. Now, like that's what I keep telling you. If we have to stay on this particular topic of context, we can do it 1,000 years. We will never end because I will never agree with you saying the same thing. So I say put it aside. Let's
But you
deal with
told you
the
have to
issue at hand.
falsify it, right? It's not a
I
matter
didn't
of agreement.
falsify. No, I didn't falsify
Because that's
anything.
how proof works. Right? Listen,
Dude, I
the way
ask you.
proof works.
No, wait. This knowledge of you saying that it is the same thing, when it comes to literacy, is the same thing. Prove to us. From which source did you get this knowledge? Where it says context and even content are the same thing in literacy. Prove to us right now.
Okay.
Give us the source.
All right.
Where can we search it?
Okay. Very,
Where?
very, very easy. Are you appealing to authority when you say give us the source? You want me
Yes,
to
we need
say
to know
so
the
and so
source.
said it?
No, we need the source where you have that knowledge. So just give
Yeah,
us.
I know the meaning of these words, and I know how literacy works. And
So
I'm
where is the
also,
source?
Babe, I'm talking. Listen, I'm giving you three points here. Listen, number one, we know the definition of these words. You understand? So we know that they are synonymous. Number one. Number two, we know we know how reading works. For crying out loud, we can falsify these arguments. So, for instance, to put it very simple, in order for subject and context to be two different things when it comes to literacy, we need to identify the difference of them when it comes to literacy. And the way we would do that, we would identify a subject in any literacy. We would identify a subject without a context, or we would identify a context without a subject. If we cannot identify the difference between the two when it comes to literacy, that means they are the same thing. I'm giving you something you can test.
No
Over to you.
problem. I said I understand you. Now, the word harra, we checked it. Chapter 22, verse 31 is literal. Chapter 16, verse 26 is literal. Now, the word harra, I don't know where you got it to mean humble, but I'm yet to find out. And when I took you to chapter 12, verse 100, and I showed you what happened, what transpired. Now, based on the actions that transpired, it clearly shows us that it is literal. It is not non-literal. If it's non-literal, any word you put there, you have to formulate a new meaning, which is not from God. You put your own words there. So now chapter 12, verse 100 clearly tells us they fell down in sujud, sajada. They fell down before him, to him.
So did they yield in submission to him, or did they physically show him the physical prostration? You need to just
that act. That's why the Quran is talking to intelligent people. So an intelligent person reading that verse, if you tell him,
insult people, that's not necessary, bro.
Oh, dude,
that's
not
an argument.
No. Relax. Who said I'm insulting?
Not me, not just me, including
relax.
Because you're making an argument.
Is would agree with you. Is the Quran not meant for intelligent people to comprehend?
That goes without saying, though. You don't need to say that to prove your point. You need to prove your point.
Please don't put words in my mouth as if I'm trying to insult my audience or I'm insulting you. Please don't put meaning.
But then that was unnecessary.
No, I said it. Whether it's unnecessary.
No, wait. You said it when I asked you for proof.
So the Quran is not dealing with intelligence, right?
No. But I asked you for proof. So that implies that you don't need to prove it. Because intelligent people would agree with you. That's what that implies.
So that's what I'm saying. But my intention is not to insult any viewer, neither am I insulting.
I know. I'm not saying that's your intention. That's why I'm telling you to be careful and understand how language works.
Okay, no problem. No problem. But then when we take chapter 12, verse 100, in that context of that verse, when we check the subject of what he was talking about, it started with verse 99 down to 100. The kharra used there is literal, and it defines an act. So if you tell an intelligent person, what does that mean? What the action there? What does that mean? He will literally tell you it means prostration. They fell down before him, whether to show submission, whether in submission. That act is prostration. In Arabic, you say sajada, which is a physical act they did. They were not conforming to any rules at that time when they came to what?
Just a simple question. Are they submitting to him as a leader?
As a leader, they showed him the submission.
That's not what I asked you. Answer the question I asked you. Are they submitting? Are they submitting to him as the leader?
I won't translate the word. No, I won't translate the word like the way you did. Are they submitting to him as a leader?
Okay, how about this? Are they submitting to him as a prominent person, as you put it, in that society?
Yeah, they prostrated to him as a prominent person.
I need you to answer my question, right?
No, a question can be wrong, dude. I don't need to answer a question when it's wrong.
So explain to me how my question is wrong.
Yes, because we agree differently on that verse. So if you
what's the question?
I understand.
With the verse, I'm asking you first.
Somebody made a comment. He said, "This dialogue is going to end up with more episodes than Game of Thrones." Isn't it obvious?
Yeah, going back. Let's try it again. Going back to my question. Hey, how can you say to someone that your question is wrong?
Yeah. So for instance, can I explain that? Why I said the question is wrong? For instance, let's say I'm single and you're asking me, you meet me on the way and you say, babashuaib, how is your wife and kids doing? Or how are they doing?
Okay, so are you saying, okay, tell me which one. Okay, now we're going to justify what you just said.
Yeah.
So I said the son is prominent. Is that incorrect?
You said the son is what?
He's a prominent figure in that society. Is that correct or incorrect?
No, he is. It's correct. You're correct. Yeah.
Okay, that's correct. So as the prominent figure of that society, people need to submit to his commands. Is that correct or incorrect?
According to the verse or outside the verse?
Well, according to the verse and according to the context, by definition, I'm talking.
Yeah, according
by
to the verse.
by definition, according to the whole context, or his whole journey, by definition, is he someone whose commands are to be yielded to?
Yes,
Is
he
he
is.
that?
Yes, he is. Yes.
He is,
Not
yeah?
even. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So does that include his parents then? Do they need to
That.
yield to his command?
Yeah. It. Yeah. Of course, it includes the parent. Yeah.
Okay, so my point is already made. And,
Yeah, but.
to make it even further, the falling down symbolizes the fact that generally parents don't take the need of their child. So the falling down is in reference to the fact that they basically humbling down to now submit to the need of their child, because that is not the norm.
But they did an action.
So
They did an action.
if I put the argument of the verse to aside, would you disagree that for parents to follow the lead of their child requires humility of the parent?
Yes, of the verse, I will agree. But when we are talking about the verse,
My question is, for a parent to take the lead of their child requires humility. Would you agree or disagree?
I will agree of the verse. Yes, I agree.
So okay, cool. So for
Of the
parents,
verse.
for a parent to take the lead of their child, that requires humility. So what is the difference between that and what is going on in the verse?
I thought you said context is king. So we are dealing with the context of the verses.
Or even the whole context. What is
Why are you going outside the verses to give me your opinion?
No. I actually did not give you what I tried to do. What I tried to do, because if I said the verse said this and this and this and this, we might have disagreed. So
yeah, so that's what I wanted you to do actually, instead of giving me examples.
Let me finish. So without citing the verse, I gave you the image that the verse is talking about.
I know. Yes, I know about the image.
Huh?
I know about the image that the whole chapter is talking about. But that
okay, so how are you going to disagree?
You said context is key. So put it into context for me instead of going outside the verse to talk.
Okay, no problem. The context is very simple.
So start from 99.
All right, cool. I know the whole story. The context is very simple. The context is their child, who used to be their child, is now a prominent figure who even exalts them and puts them on a throne. That is the context. So
no, you are outside the context still. I said read the verses.
Please let me finish. So based on that context, they humble themselves and submit to this child who is now clearly a prominent figure. How on earth is that contextually wrong?
You are giving your own opinion now. I'm not.
Where am I giving?
Read the verses and tell me what the verse says. We need the context of the verse, not your own opinion. Chapter start from 99 and read to 100, and then show us the context in the verse instead of explaining by yourself.
Then when they entered upon Joseph, he took to himself Paris, and he said, "Enter Egypt, if God will be peaceful and secure." And he raised his parents upon the throne, and they fell down to him, prostrate, and he said, "O my father, this is the interpretation of my dream from before. Verily, made my Lord true, and indeed when he brought me out of prison, and he brought you out from the Bedouin life. From after that, he sowed discord between the devil and me, and between my brother. Indeed, my Lord is subtle to what he will lead Noah most wise."
So now, what did you see in the context here?
I see in the context Joseph actually. Oh, you just helped me out. In the verse before, I actually see Joseph giving his parents a command. Namely, before he said, "Enter Egypt if God will be secure." That is a command from Joseph to his parents. Is that correct or incorrect?
And then, correct?
That is correct, right? Okay,
Yes.
cool.
But
And then he raised his parents upon the throne, and they fell down to him prostrate. One more, do you want?
yes. So now, tell me, what was the context you got?
The context I got is they're seeing their child who is now calling shots, and he's now telling them what they need to do. And he's then after that showing them his basically power, namely his throne. And after the command, and after their son showing them his power, they had no choice but to humble themselves and submit to this new king, if you like. How are you going to argue?
You are still giving your own meaning.
Where?
Yeah, you just did. The verses you
Okay,
read.
tell me where.
Relax. You read it out for every listener out there to listen to you, what you are reading. Right? I didn't ask you, how did you understand the verses? That's not what I asked you. That's just not a question. That's not the question I asked. You read the verses by putting prostration there. They fell down. They did this, and now you are putting your own meaning into, but humbling, whatever. That's not what I needed from you. I wanted you to tell me what shows that there's no act of physical prostration there for them to show him that respect.
There is nothing to show that they needed it. You have to justify it. Because
Dude,
listen to this. Listen to this. Listen. I gave you wait. I gave you one scenario that you can't even disagree with. Is already justified, which
What
is
is the
which is the fact that A, he commanded them. B, he showed them his kingdom, if you like. And C, as a result of the command, and B, his newfound authority, they did C. See, literally, you have A, B, C. Namely, A, command, B, his authority, C, they did C. Look, I'm not even going to tell you what they did, but just remember that what they did is a result of A and B, namely command and B is authority. So based on those two, the command that he's given them, the authority that he's shown them that he now has, and the fact that he is their child, there is nothing, absolutely nothing to suggest that they went down physically. Nothing. You've got
You don't care about the words. You don't care about translation. You don't care about anything. You are just giving your opinion, going
Okay,
anywhere.
where did I give opinion now? Can you just tell me where?
No, you read the verses. When you are reading, give me your translation of the word harra. What does it mean?
Go ahead, keep the cooling down. Keep
No, I
it.
said give me the meaning of harra. What is that? What does it mean?
Whatever you like. It's going to be dictated by the context.
And I said give me the meaning.
I said whatever you like. You're gonna argue with me for agreeing with you?
Dude, I'm asking you a question. You ask me a question, when I try to go around, you're like, hey, answer. I said give me the meaning of the word harra. Is it difficult? If you don't know this, you don't know.
The meaning of the word harra.
Yeah. Time up, right? Sorry, I'm done.
Oh, the word harra can mean make noise while flying, fall down, to murmur, prostrate, to come from a higher plane, whether it's literally or metaphorically.
So now put your meaning there for us. Harra in that verse. Put the meaning you want. Let's see. Choose your meaning. Honestly, don't just try something, but choose what you will translate. I don't know which translation you are using of the Quran, but put the word harra, the meaning there in the verse. Showing, because you told me if a word doesn't fit the context will reject it. So now put the meaning of harra in that verse for me.
When have I taken out the meaning of harra in that verse?
Hmm?
When have I taken out the meaning
Now you said if a word doesn't fit the context, the context will reject it.
But that's not the issue we have here. The issue,
No,
that the issue that we have here is what the context suggests. That's the point. I don't have a
dude,
problem with the
how
word.
can a context suggest something for you
Shuaib,
when you don't have words to explain what is happening?
Shuaib, I don't have a
I
problem.
don't.
Like, you
Yeah.
can't make an argument that doesn't exist. Shuaib, we need to fix that noise, but we can't talk like this.
What is there a noise still?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Dude, anyways, my time for today is up. Well, let's reschedule this. My time is up. 2 hours, I've done more than that. You know, we promised 2 hours, so it's more than that. Like I said, maybe during the days, let's just try the network in between us and then see how it works, because it's unfortunate the network keep doing this to us. So it doesn't help at all. So Ahmed, let's drop it now. So I say so the viewers, we apologize for this inconvenience, and I think we are also going to create our own Game of Thrones every episode. So we are going to make an interesting episode of this, and we'll be discussing. But you know, Ahmed is trying to get on my nerves sometimes, trying to pull strings here. Ahmed,
Yes.
I have to bounce now. You know, the family is calling. I've done overtime already. We
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
we have to sort
We're
it.
shifting. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you go.
No problem. This is where I leave you. So viewers, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Peace be upon you all. Till we meet again, inshallah.
Inshallah. All right, Shuaib, we'll catch up.
Yeah.